What up? What up?
What's going on? Welcome. You are about to attain true gnosis.
Welcome to MythVision, baby.
I'm just give me a quick second. I forgot. I didn't want to stream on two different things. I've meant that next. I'm trying to delete the little one for the big one. So just take over for now. I'm gonna
okay. Look, we long have heard that we do fight. Me and Neal often fight for minimalist approach on the Hebrew Bible. For those who don't know, we push for later dates for a lot of the books, but there seems to be a growing trend of, I want to say, conspiracy level thinking, because we're pushing the boundaries with full awareness of what the consensus is saying about arguments.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just pushing the boundaries without awareness of what the academic arena is suggesting or saying and why. And it seems that there's a growing online tradition, or I don't know, thought process that is suggesting everything in the Bible was invented ex nihilo in the Hellenistic period. And look, we want to be straight, and tell you what we think and why, so that you aren't thinking we think this.
Yeah, I wanted to go. This is what I wanted to do, because I'm seeing a lot of people who mean well. I'm seeing people citing or tagging me in different areas of the internet and conversations they're having, and they're like Gnostic Informant and Gad Barnea, and maybe whoever they might throw in a bunch of names, and they'll say they think that the whole thing was all just made up in the 3rd century BC. The whole thing, none of it. That's not ever what I said.
Well, that's not what Gad Barnea says either.
It's not what Gamerkin even says.
Not even Gamerkin thinks that. Niels Peter Lemke doesn't think that. In fact, so I've got let's list a few of the top dogs, right? Philip R. Davies, we're talking minimalist, people who fight for late dates. They push for late composition.
The final form of the Bible, I'm saying, and a lot of people are. It's growing and growing and growing. Actually, many people agree with this now. We're saying the final form that we have it today is a Hellenistic, composition. That doesn't mean that there are parts of it that are either drawing from older stories or those older sources, or they're actually literally quoting from or taking passages from older material and placing it into these texts.
No doubt. And real quick,
there's a little bit of both going on.
Mother Wendyberg, love you. Thank you so much for being a member for 10 months. Real salvation goes out to you. Everyone else be damned unless they become a member, or what I'm saying. Join the brothel. Of course, this is the only way to true salvation.
Join the brothel.
We're trying to tell you, all the haters out there can hate, but
join the brothel. Good for you, James.
We've seen them all in the brothel. The ones that claim the brothel is bad, they're all secretly visiting.
And those against the brothel.
Hey, I want to say something though that I think is important about this. You just touched on it, and I think it's ridiculous. It's stupid to think that out of nowhere, all that we're reading in the biblical text, like someone just got together and said, hey, we don't have a tradition. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Billy, Jim. Of course, they'd be Jewish names or some form of some Yahwistic name or whatever, likely. Hey, come over here. Guys, we don't have a tradition at all. We have no tradition. We have no literature. We have nothing. Let's just invent everything whole cloth ex nihilo. Go find every single ancient source and let's just pull it all together and make it up right now. And it's kind of funny because the Dead Sea Scrolls reflect at least 3 to 4 different alternative traditions that are paralleled, but also in many ways contradictory, which tells you there's got to be something before. What you and me, we like to push the buttons. We like to push the boundaries and say, hey, maybe it's later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And when I make videos talking about Plato's influence on the Hebrew Bible, or even Gamerkin when he writes about this stuff, we're talking about how this is all edited and put together in the Hellenistic period. I do believe that they were inspired by either Plato or pre-Socratic thought when they were putting together the final composition of the Torah.
Yeah, of course. Well, not only that, and thank you, Bakken. Bakken gave 5 memberships. He's trying to save as many people. It's the goal of where
he's out evangelizing.
Exactly. He's out here saving souls. We got 5 on your side and 5
the music
on
coming
mine.
in from all these. I love it. It's my favorite song from Skyrim.
Literally. By the way, Daniel Dimitrov, thank you so much for the super chat as well. And then 5 gifted memberships on my side. So here's the thing. And someone brought this comment up here, actually. Old Testament names didn't start showing up until around 400 BCE.
Yeah, that's another strong point.
I agree. So everything.
Well, actually, let me correct that. Torah names.
Yes.
That's actually almost missed this. This is a big difference. Names in Kings and Chronicles, and even maybe some names in the prophets.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them don't actually show up, or do show up in the sources. There are people with those names.
Yes.
In the Kings Chronicles section, the historical section. It's the Torah. It's Abraham. It's Isaac. It's Jacob. It's Adam and Eve. Joseph. Those names are all post 400 BC.
Yeah. So it's very careful. We're being very careful because, like, you can go and find ancient kings, like you said, Omri and others, from external sources that are in the Bible, in the Old Testament, that we know existed from external sources that are older. What we're specifically harping on is I'm going to call it historical, but there's these historical narratives that are writing a history of Israel from the beginning. And when you read those, like Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, all of these Genesis accounts, even Exodus, we're questioning those narratives and saying they're later likely. Now, when you get to the prophets, I do think that there is some ancient pedigree to some of this material. Did it look like we have it in the Dead Sea Scrolls? I don't effing know. I have no damn way of knowing. And even when I interviewed Ian Young recently, again, you and me both had him on, he's like, look, I can't prove that what we have in the Dead Sea Scrolls would have looked anything like the 5th, 6th centuries BCE in the way we have it now. But he can't help but think there's still a kernel of something that is remaining there. There's something in the midst of the growing, rolling tradition.
That's what we all agree on. We all agree on this. There's a Judean tradition that is old.
Right.
That is as old as, like, the same way you would point to the Greek tradition in the Hellenistic period. We're talking about Theocritus and Apollodorus. Hellenistic 3rd century, 2nd century BCE writers of that caliber, and they're actually mentioning stories and gods and themes that you would find in Mycenaean text. Gods like Dionysus, Persephone, Zeus. That means their culture, to some extent, stayed intact all the way down to the Hellenistic period. That's the same everywhere you go. Just spoiler alert, everywhere you go, they have their culture passed down from generation to generation. Does it change? Yes. Does it stay exactly the same? No.
Right.
But when we're looking at the Hebrew Bible, you're going to find elements, a lot of elements, if not straight up passages in general, that do go back to 7th, even 8th century BC in some cases.
Yeah.
I brought some examples.
Bring up what you want. I mean, I think it's important to understand the final composition we're dealing with, or redaction, if you will, is not necessarily negating that there are older sources. We're saying that there's been so much, they have tampered with this material, and some of these narratives likely were invented late Persian into the Hellenistic period. For example, if there was ever a story with Moses, let's just say, pretend that Moses existed prior to the Hellenistic period, and it's not implausible. It's just we're looking at what we have, and then we're not trying to assume prior to the written literature we do have exactly what characters may or may not have been there. But when I interviewed Gad Barnea recently on this whole Persian material, and I called you about it, we talked a little bit on the phone about it, even though you're busy as hell, so am I. We talked about it, and I said, listen, this burning bush episode, that is Persian fire worship all day. You can suppose in the Hellenistic period that they decided, I'm going to pull from the Persian fire worship, but it's probable, very likely, during the Persian period.
And the fact that Heraclitus, in that same period, 500 BC, Heraclitus is writing, he's living in a city that's conquered by the Persians, Ephesus, part of the Persian Empire. And what does he talk about? How does he talk about the divine? As a fire. So that's how you know these ideas were actually influential all the way to where Ionia is. So, like, yes, you should find other places where this fire worship idea is being adopted, and that's
yeah. So you brought what you brought. You feel like showing some of that? I mean,
Yeah. So, okay. First of all, let's talk about the ball cycle, dude. Ball cycle. This is a translation from Cambridge in 1985. This is just one I just pulled up. It's standard. No, there's not much of a variation of this. What's going on? Maybe a few different words here. But it says, what foe has risen up against Baal? What enemy has risen up against the rider of the clouds? Surely I destroyed Yam. Now, if you know Hebrew, this is the word for the sea.
Yeah.
So you can read this as surely I destroyed sea. You can literally write that. Surely I destroyed sea, beloved of God, beloved of God, the beloved of God. Surely I made an end of river. Look, this one's translated as river. Mine, this is in sea. Yeah, mighty God. Surely I lifted up the dragon. I destroyed the crooked serpent. Now this is what I wanted to show you, because the language here is almost exactly what you find in what's it called? Isaiah 27. Watch this. Isaiah 27, 1. Where did I put that? Isaiah 27. Did I really get rid of Isaiah 27?
I have a documentary on this actually too, by the way. If anyone's interested in like watching something cool on this, what you're getting into right now.
Yeah, here it is. Now, if you go to Isaiah 27, 1, you can see something pretty interesting here. 1 second. So let me just pull up Isaiah 27, 1. And you can see, first of all, right here, it says Lamech, Leviathan, the Leviathan. Mm-hmm. And then it says Nachash, which means serpent, and then Bariach, which means swift. So he's saying to the swift Leviathan. And then down here he says right here he says, what's the word? Bariach, right here. Laharag, and then he says he will kill, and then Atta, which is like and then Hatanin, the monster, and then it says Asher, that is in, right? And this is the part that I wanted to show you. Yam. There's the God right there, Yam. But it's the sea. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying the author isn't telling you that he's in the sea. He's in the sea. But still, you have Leviathan, and here's the crazy part right here. Leviathan, and then it says Nachash, and then this word right here, Aklatalon, which means Akalathon, which means coiled serpent, coiled serpent, which if we actually go back to, so this word right here, Nachash, Hakalathon. Sorry about my Hebrew, I'm not really bad at Hebrew, but look at that, those two words right there that I just showed you. I literally, look at this, go back to this source right here, coiled serpent. Let me just make this bigger. He literally describes him as the crooked serpent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This has been a long fact that scholars have noticed. And I'm glad you went to Ugaritic, because you seem to have your eye, or you see things I'm not seeing online with these I guess you'd say hypotheses that, like, I would say no scholar is arguing, but many random people on the internet may be arguing. And what do they do with Ugaritic? I mean, like they're quickly trying to fight with Hebrew, but Hebrew is just a Semitic language that derives from the older forms of Semitic languages that you would find in Phoenicia. I mean, all along the Levantine coast, and literally we have a twisting, coiling serpent in a ancient 14th century BCE tablet, the original tablet, not like a later text that's been redacted and changed. We have the original tablet of him using the same terms to describe the sea, this deity, a son of El named Yam, and Leviathan, if you will, also plays a significant role. But then in Isaiah 27, we see this later tradition recycling this older one, likely by the same descendants. I mean, these people are like just ancestors of the very same people who are using the same tradition.
Yeah.
So I don't get what the beef is. What do they run from the Ugaritic? Do they not realize that like the Ugaritic tradition's older? I don't get what is their ultimate beef, Neal, that you see?
Yeah. There's another one that I noticed too, that he says in the next passage. And so in another passage about Leviathan, which is from Psalms, I'm going to be going back and forth between Psalms and what's it called? And it was Isaiah, because those are two. Isaiah and Psalms have very old shit going on in both of those texts. That I would say the final form of Isaiah is obviously Hellenistic. It's even Persian periods sources about Cyrus being the Messiah.
Right.
We know this is Isaiah is the prime example to show someone exactly what we mean when a text can have old elements and be a final form being later.
Right.
Isaiah is the perfect text to show you.
Well, let me ask you sibling, real quick. Sibling oracles, Neal.
Same thing.
Let's see. Was it all written in the 2nd century AD?
No.
Oh, really? Are you sure about that? Because I think that a Latin scribe invented the whole tradition in the 2nd century AD. But guess what? We could find elements of being kind of mentioned and quoted even in the Apocalypse of John, which would be a late 1st century or even an early 2nd century material. And then you have other materials that are using it. And then you have this rolling material. So like textual traditions are constantly rolling. To argue complete ex nihilo sounds like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Okay. Check this out right here. This word right here is be'otzka. Be'otzka. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this right here is yam. It doesn't say ha-yam. It doesn't say the sea. But what is this word right here? It means by your strength, yam. I'm just reading it. I'm just reading a straight up how you read. And this is shabarta, which means you shattered.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read? What is that? What did I just read?
You literally read
by your strength. What does that say?
I don't know.
Yam.
It's
YM. By your strength.
So you're talking about ancient Canaanite continuity in the Psalms is ultimately
the word Leviathan's not even in here in this whole passage. It's in the next passage. Don't get me wrong. This passage right here, it literally just says, by your strength, you shattered yam. Now, it gets translated as the sea, but there's no ha there. Ha means the. It just says, by your strength, you shattered sea. That's a deity. That's a noun. It's a proper noun. You shattered sea. You shattered yam, dude. It's literally saying you shattered yam. Now, don't get me wrong. The next passage after this, Rashi Tananim, you shattered, and it says heads of the monsters in plural. But still, it says, if you read this, I don't know, I don't like this translation because it literally goes, you divided the sea by your strength, and then it says you broke the head of the sea monsters in the waters. I mean, I guess that's fine, but I would translate it as by your strength you shattered yam, and you shattered the sea or not and. By your strength you shattered yam. You broke the heads of the sea monsters. Like it's whoever read this. If you were reading this in an ancient context, if you're living, let's say this was a passage that was literally copied from older sources that do go back to the time of Isaiah, 8th, 7th century, whatever, 7th century, like 610 or something, or 611 BC, they would think this is Yahweh defeating Yam.
Right.
That's a pagan Ugaritic god found in Ugaritic sources that I just showed you guys. So it's right there in your face as long as you could read it. And by the way, this is another knock on the claim that this is all written in Greek first and then translated into Hebrew.
Yeah, like what's the Greek?
Think about how stupid this is. You have these Greeks in Alexandria who don't know anything. By the way, because you can read Herodotus and older sources, they never mention Israel. They don't know shit about Israel. They don't know anything about Israel. All of a sudden, in the Hellenistic period in Alexandria, a bunch of Greeks get together and they write this huge huge Bible, the Septuagint, and they're drawing from all this history that happened in Israel. And then the translators come along and they
pull the LXX, pull up the
good idea.
Got to show it, because if he doesn't say Typhon, they're full of it. Okay, like if they're not at least using the equivalent mythological beast in their translation, I mean, clearly, you see what I'm trying to get at, right?
Yeah.
Like if it says Typhon, okay, well, guess what? They're playing the game.
No, it's just a Stalasan. See.
I mean, that
So this doesn't make any sense. If you're right, if this was the sea monster, this was the 7-headed sea monster, you would have the Hydra, or you would have Typhon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Either or would make sense here. So all you have is a dragon, and it's translating that from Nahash.
It's that simple that you could tell the direction, because if you'd have at least a neutral stalemate if you were like using the Greek mythological characters, especially if you're claiming they wrote it in Greek first. They would have started with Greek mythological names. These are the head honchos in our mythology, and you guys are imitating our material or something. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah, so for these idiots to be right, you would have to have a Greek composition about the Lord killing a sea, Thalasan. I mean, Thalasan is a god, actually. That's true.
Yeah.
But it's just a little odd that you just had Thalasan, who's not even like a god that opposes. He's like actually a good god. You wouldn't destroy Thalasan for no reason. But anyways,
which verse is this exactly? Psalms.
This is Psalm 74:13. Now, for them to be correct, this would have to happen. You'd have to create this story that magically lines up word for word with an Ugaritic text from 1200 BC, that the translators in Hebrew just magically get to translate your text, and it just, oh my God, magically it lines up with the Ugaritic sources. Whoa, magic. That is a divine text. This is how stupid this idea is. This is all written in Greek and translated into Hebrew. Get over it, dude. It's a Hebrew fucking text. Who cares? It doesn't have to be Greek. You guys want it to be Greek? It's not. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, think about that. Imagine that. You're writing a Greek text, and then a translator comes along, translates it into Hebrew, and then word for word, the word yam, the word, all the stuff, the coiling serpent, all lines up with Ugaritic text. Same words.
That's why it's like, okay, so then even if you tried to pretend that the Greek of this Psalm text came first, they're getting it from Ugaritic?
No, that doesn't make any sense. So that's just the reason why I brought these up. I'm showing you the antiquity of this story. And this doesn't necessarily mean this was written back then, but they know about and they're aware of very old Ugaritic ball cycle stories. And that really does kind of tell you the antiquity of the Hebrew Bible at the very least. So another one, Psalm 22, people think this is about Jesus. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but this is not even a prophecy. This is not a prophecy. It's not about the future. Psalm 22 is a poem about something that happened in the time of the writer. Now, so I'm actually going out on a limb here and saying I think Psalm 22 is very, very old. I would probably place it at the end of the 7th century BCE, right around 600 and 609 BCE. Now, why did I pick 609? Well, let's see. What does he actually say in this text? He says, many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan have beset me round. Huh? What's that? Why would this be about the future? First of all, Bashan. Let's just look up Bashan. Bashan is the ancient biblical religion, the Transjordan. So it's the region to the east of them. Well, why does that make sense? What's going on? Why are there enemies coming from the east? The gape upon me with their mouth, a ravening and roaring lion. I'm poured out like water. All my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, and my strength is dried up. My tongue cleaveth to my jaws, and thou hast brought me into the dust of death. Dogs have surrounded me, is what the Hebrew said. Company of evildoers have enclosed on me. They pierce my hands and feet. Now, what the hell is this about? Well, people have pointed out, rightly so, that it kind of sounds a lot like Isaiah. And I actually agree with this. So let's just go to Isaiah 53, and let's find out who is this about. Now, the context leading up to Isaiah. Oh, shoot. Super chat.
The 70 is riddled with misnomers by supposedly 70 scribes.
Yes.
A text for the nation. Knowledge.
Why is it doing that?
Doubling up.
Yeah, why is it doing that?
in Greco knowledge more than
All right.
Judean.
Appreciate that. I'm going to get to that in a second. Let me just finish this point out. This is a huge point. So, back to what I was saying. What is going on here? He says, okay, surely you took up our pain and our suffering. You considered punished by God and afflicted. He was pierced for our transgression. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him. And by his wounds, we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Right? This is like, whoa, this is about Jesus? And it's like, and then it says, he was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. A grave with the wicked? Where did Jesus get assigned a grave with the wicked? Huh? Therefore, I'll give him a portion. This is a big one. After he has suffered, he will see the light of life, be satisfied. And then it says, therefore, I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors. Well, what the hell? What is this about? I'll tell you what it's about. I'll tell you what both of these passages are about. It is about this battle right here that happened in 609 BCE. The Battle of Megiddo. By the way, the word, people say Armageddon's going to happen. Armageddon already happened. Har-Megiddo. It's called Har-Megiddo. It's a battle that already happened. It's gone. It happened in 609 BCE. There's actually two Har-Megiddos. There's one in the Bronze Age too.
Yeah.
But this is what happened. It was a world war, dude. When I say world war, there was the Assyrians were there, the Babylonians were there, the Neo-Hittites were there, the Carchemish Empire was there, the Egyptians were there, led by Pharaoh Necho, and they were all meeting in this region right near like Syria and Israel. And there's all these battles happening there. The Medes were involved. I'm telling you, everyone was there. They were all fighting in this area. And what happened was they were trying to the Assyrians. So Necho led his army to Carchemish to join with these allies, the Neo-Assyrians, against the Babylonians. They lost. The Neo-Babylonians win, right? And so what happened was Josiah, in this battle, this particular battle right here, Josiah goes over to meet with the Egyptians, and what do? They fucking sling him with arrows, and he gets pierced to death. His hands and feet and body all pierced to death. He's literally just gets lit up with arrows. They pierce him and they bring him back. And because of that, though, the battle ended and there was peace. And then they got conquered. That region got conquered. But still, that because he died, no one else had to die. Everyone else, the battle was over.
So he's like in a sense, it's an atonement.
He went up. He literally went face to face by himself. He could have stayed back and let his other people do it. He literally sacrifices himself for everyone else, gets killed. So we know this is about Pharaoh. We know this is about Josiah. Josiah was the anointed. He was the king of Israel. He was the one who, according to other texts, passed these laws that were the reforms against idolatry. So in the eyes of God, he was a great sacrifice because he was such a righteous king. He was perfect in all his ways. He made all these great reforms that ended Asherah poles and all this other Baal worship. So why would God take him? Well, God took him because he was a sacrifice, because we're all a bunch of sinners. And that's why we have to go to captivity for 70 years, which happened like only a few decades after this in 586.
At _ dropped 15 Israeli new shekels super chat.
So
greatest mistranslation.
I
will be that I will be. No, I am. No being but becoming.
Thank you for that.
Did you see my mail and video about Edom?
Thank you. Real quick, before I end this, before I forget my last point on this, because Kings and Chronicles refers to this. Look at this. Nevertheless, Josiah would not turn his face from him, but disguised himself that he might fight with him. So he's literally going into the fight, and hearkened not unto the words of Necho from the mouth of God, and came to fight in the valley of Megiddo, Har-Megiddo, literally. So what happens? And what happened was, and the archers shot at King Josiah, and the king said to his servants, "Have me away, I'm so wounded." And he dies. Look at this.
So,
And also,
he's a suffering servant
he's a
slash
suffering servant.
king slash.
So his servant took him out of the chariot, put him in the second chariot, and brought him to Jerusalem, and he died. And he was buried in the sepulchres of his fathers. He's buried with all the sinners, all the kings who did all the Baal worship and stuff. He had a burial among the wicked. And all of Judah and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah.
It's interesting because there are scholars who do think that Isaiah 53 and these other places are hinting at an individual. And some say, no, it's the nation of Israel or the elect among the nation of Israel and stuff. There are different interpretations of it, but you can see an individual interpretation making sense. You could also see how a remnant of Israel that's being faithful is dealing with suffering along the way as well. So, but this is a literal interpretation that could fit literally hand in glove.
It's not, Isaiah is a prophet, don't get me wrong. But when he's giving a prophecy, he says, let me tell you what will happen. The nations will be laid waste. He's clearly telling you what the prophecy. When he's doing poetry, because he's a poet as well. When he's doing poetry, it's not this secret code that you have to read between the lines. That's all later. The Essenes all do that stuff. The Dead Sea Scrolls, Qumran community, they think that's what's going on. The Christians adopt that. But at the time, this is poetry. This is Hebrew poetry, writing about events that are happening right now. King Josiah right now just got killed. That's why I think Isaiah 53 is an old, where at least at the very least, it's drawing from an old source being put into Isaiah.
And the fact that there were 3 layers to Isaiah.
Yeah.
First, second, and third Isaiah. And I think it's second Isaiah that's hinting at naming Cyrus.
Yes.
Like, bro.
Well, it does. It says
you named the dude. Like,
yeah. It's from which verse is it? Isaiah. It's from Isaiah 45:1. Let me just pull that up real quick. I just want people to see this because this is so crazy. So this is definitely from, and by the way, 53 is after this. So I'm not saying 53 was written at that time, but it's using sources that are definitely old. So that whether he quoted an actual source, the author, or they just rewrote something that's older, that's my opinion on Isaiah 53. And so Isaiah 45, it says, "This is the Lord." This is let me bring the Greek in this too. The Greek's actually pretty important for this one. 1853 Septuagint. Where is it? 1851. So look at this. Hutoi lege kurios hoteos toi Christoi mu kuroi. So that's the Christ. Who's the Christ? Who's the Moshiach? Where is that? Yahweh Moshiach right here. To Moshiach. Who's the Messiah or Christ? Who is it? It's Cyrus? And it says it's God's anointed. It's not it's not some random anointed guy. God's anointed is a human being, dude. Not a divine being. It's a human named Cyrus whose right hand God takes a hold of to subdue the nations. This literally gets reapplied to Jesus later on, but Cyrus is literally the Messiah. And this is how you know this wasn't written 609 BCE. Because how the frick would anyone know who King Cyrus is 200 years before King Cyrus even lived?
I mean, you either have to really believe in the magic of that text or just say he wrote it after and clearly is like retrojecting as if the prophet said these things back here. And I think that the gullible will fall for that first one, whereas I think the scholars recognize they call this Vaticanum ex eventu, where they write after the fact, pretending like they're writing before it. And they're saying, oh, he's predicting the time. You know what's really interesting?
Which is what the Sibylline Oracles does too.
Exactly.
It's just like, oh, then the birth of Caesar Augustus and all the nations will all, and it's like the birth of the August one. It's like, okay, we know this is written after Augustus. Come on, let's not be silly here.
Virgil's Aeneid kind of does that. I mean,
yeah, Virgil's Aeneid talks about the chosen child who's going to all the lamb shall eat with the lion and they'll all be peaceful. All talk about Augustus. Look at this. It even says, Jacob, my servant, the suffering servant, right? In Isaiah, this is talking about Isaiah 45, of Israel, my chosen. I summon you. So the servant is Jacob. And the representative of Jacob as a single man is Josiah, who's the king of the anointed God of Israel. The anointed person, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, there's, what's really interesting is when you go read the actual inscriptions from Cyrus, and he attributes his successes, his defeats of his enemies to a different God. And the Bible constantly takes credit, goes, I, the Lord, did these things. It's like imagine today, think of a nation that is like very religious, that has a particular God that they claim is theirs, not one within the Abrahamic faith, one that is like outside, a completely different God, not one where you could dispute and go, well, Allah is technically the same God later on, just re-philosophized and reworked in a new tradition. I'm talking about a whole separate God.
Yeah.
And the biblical author wants to take credit for what Cyrus the Great is doing, because it wasn't just Israel that Cyrus didn't just allow people that were in Yehud to go back and build the temple. He allowed every nation that had religious customs to go and revive their own temples, their own worship and everything. Whereas Babylon, like, before them, like to kind of split and divide and not allow that kind of program to take place. When you read actual Cyrus's inscriptions, you'll see the credit is to a whole different God, not to Yahweh at all. I just find it interesting that they hijack other people's kings because they play a role in there and say, oh, our God is the one who did this. And it's like, if you just read their inscriptions, it isn't your God. It's a whole different God that they're crediting for that.
And I should clarify, the official narrative is that Isaiah did live almost 100, maybe 100, over 100 years actually, from the events of Megiddo. So he's an 8th century prophet, supposedly lives in. So they're even doing this back then. You understand what I'm saying, Derek?
Mm-hmm.
This is, so the story takes place in 609, the one I just showed you.
Right.
Isaiah supposedly lived in like 750 BC.
Right. So prophecy.
Even then they're going, yes, and then the king will go out and he'll be pierced to death and all. They're doing it then, dude.
Right,
and then
right.
and then still the same methodology keeps going back further and further and all the way to Christianity. So that's why I think it was written. Even that source is old, but not as old as they're claiming. It's still not 8th century BC. You know what I'm saying? So even in that case,
I think that's why people like us have thought maybe some of the stuff is much later. I just don't want us to give the wrong impression that everything must be, and anyone who tells you it's all invented later, you then have some explanations that you need to make as well. It's unfortunate that we don't have older physical material that can vindicate some of these traditions in literary form, okay? But we have enough clues to go, hold on, the biblical text we have physical evidence of from the 3rd and 2nd century, 1st century BCE, in that period in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it is commenting about material from the 8th century BCE that even Gad Barnea, who's the first to be like, nah, Hellenistic, nah, late Persian, nah, Hellenistic, he's saying, no, the formulation, and I can't make the argument myself because he's into the language, and he's saying that the formulation that they're giving in this material in one of the prophets is literally the same imperial language you receive when you're reading from the actual external sources from the 8th century BCE. The way that later writers write that same word in the language, which this is why it's a complex argument. We could look up his article if we wanted to. He points out that in the 8th century BCE, this is how they use the word. The biblical material we have that still exists in our material is behaving like that older material. Though later, couple centuries later, they're not writing that way when they talk that language.
Right.
So he thinks this is evidence in the language of a fossil that shows its ancient origin. And
because if you wanted to write like Shakespeare today, you can study Shakespeare and you can write something that sounds like Shakespearean English, and you can make it, you can really sell it too. But you can't do that without having sources of Shakespeare.
Right.
You have to have those. You have to have some older sources that talk that way. So there has to be some. They have to have some sources. But yeah. So.
But that's why I need to repeat this one point, and this is all I'm saying. It's silly to imagine that in the Hellenistic period, they got to get, hey, 70 guys, come over here. Hey, we don't have shiz. Okay. We all admit we have nothing. Okay. Go hunt in the Library of Alexandria and find everything. And then let's just ex nihilo create a tradition that we never had. That's BS.
That's why Gamerkin thinks that the library was a huge deal, because they were acquiring sources from the Heliopolis library, from all these, from the Assyrian, whatever. They just the Greeks just conquered the whole known world.
Of course.
But any library that existed in Persia or Egypt, they have access to those texts now. So that's Gamerkin's theory.
They still have a tradition. Even Gamerkin will point out, they still have a tradition. They may not have a Pentateuch. Okay. They may not have a Torah. Okay. We acknowledge this. There is a Samaritan Pentateuch that, you can wrestle with this and think, okay, maybe there's some older material over here that is an alternative tradition. But either way, there's no.
Samaritan Pentateuch is too much like the other Pentateuch to say that was separate. They have to be common. They have to have a common
different communities is my point.
Yeah, but that's not. It's the idea that they come up with a Pentateuch and it just lines up with this other one.
No. I'm not acting like they're completely independent here. I'm making the point that you have alternative traditions. That the idea that they have alternative traditions. Why start ex nihilo as if they just now invented these traditions? There is a long stretch of traditions that go back.
Yeah. But notice how I never and all the examples I just brought from Psalms and Isaiah. None of that none of that has anything to do with Moses or Abraham or anything from the Torah. So that's what I'm trying to point out. There's a difference between the Torah, which is Moses and Abraham and Jacob and the 12 tribes and all this other stuff, and then what we're finding with the Kings and Chronicles stuff, Josiah and the wars and getting destroyed by the Assyrians. That's all real history. And then I'm not surprised to find that stuff being older, because it actually happened in history.
Right.
When I start talking about Moses and Abraham and all this stuff, it doesn't exist anywhere, and nobody mentions them anywhere. So when those few times that they are mentioned in the prophets, my hunch is it's an interpolation. I have good reason to believe that.
Yeah, especially when we just got done with an example about Cyrus, and it's like, later on, people are still molding this material. I did an interview that hasn't been published yet. It's on my YouTube channel, but I haven't made it public because I got to make a thumbnail and title and all. And this scholar also goes into an argument about the idea that there's still a rolling text. He's in the same vein as Ian Young. He actually disputes that there's all these contradictions, as many textual critics try to make, because he's arguing that the way that the tradition is it's a living tradition. So it's more like, back the bards. Let's use the bards, for example. They would notice we have various traditions for Homer. None of them are like, oh, this is it, like the Masoretes counting numbers and shit, right? No, they oftentimes will like exchange words synonymously with another word when they're singing the bard or whatever, and they're trying to like give people Homer. Well, in the Hebrew Bible, he argues in his book, and of course in our interview, that that's what the biblical literature is doing. The scribes are experts. They are trained up in their tradition, and they're able to use synonymous terms to rewrite the tradition. His same struggle is mine, and he says it keeps him up at night. He goes, I imagine a century or two prior to the material we have from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And he said, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how different the customs and traditions have changed in just a century or two prior to the Dead Sea Scrolls with what they had in material. But he does think there is a tradition. What it looks like might be radically different from the Dead Sea Scrolls, for all we know. But he thinks they are still dabbling with it and still adding stuff and still changing material. To argue that it didn't have this extended tradition is where I'm scratching my head going, why would you not assume that? We don't have, like, it's like assuming that the bards like ex nihilo in the 8th, 7th century invented Homer. They just invented it. We know that's not true.
The same case. The final form of Homer. This is a perfect. This is why I brought this up on our conversation with Kip a long time ago.
Yeah. The
final form of Homer is 750 or whatever. There's debates on that too. But let's say 750 BC. But there's fragments of Homer, little pieces in Homer that most classicists agree are older, maybe even Bronze Age stuff, where certain stuff describes warriors with certain armor and helmets and spears that are describing Bronze Age, no mention of iron, that type of thing. but you don't date Homer to 1200 BC. You don't go Homer's a 12th century text, I think.
But you also don't say it was invented ex nihilo.
Exactly. You don't
in
say
that period. Yeah.
You don't say Homer was just written down out of nowhere. It could have been started. There could have been a person sitting down using another source and rewriting it. That's one thing. It's one possibility. We don't really know, though. We'll never really know what happened with that.
Yeah, I think I got a classicist I'm supposed to get on sometime soon to talk about older material in Homer, and one of them is the Argonautic myth. That predates the Homeric material, and there's real good reasons why it would predate it. I just think that we're missing the point of continuity with tradition. Like it just, for people who are struggling with
and that's why when I see people like getting in these beefs online and they're like, the whole thing was just invented out of nowhere, watch Gnostic Informant. And like, I get it. Like maybe I do come off that way. And it's like, I'm not even blaming or getting mad, but like, there is some nuance here. It's not all just made up out of nowhere. There is some nuances here. You got to recognize.
You're doing some damage control right now then.
Well, I'm trying to make myself more clear. It's my fault, you know?
Yeah. Look, we got some super chats, bro. We gotta give some shout out to the brothel bears here. What do we
let's
got?
do it. Let's do it.
Daniel, thank you so much, Daniel. Is it Daniel? Daniel Dimitrov. Love you guys. You are missing one. The Holy Trinity is not complete. Not today. Yep. It's we're in a dyad right now. So
the dyad, yeah.
We're in the dyads.
Thank you for that super chat.
Thank you. Yeah. Bakken in the house. Thank you for the super chat, Bakken. The LXX is riddled with misnomers by supposedly 70 scribes, a text for the nations, written in Greco knowledge more than that of Judean priesthood.
Well, 70 is a big number in the Assyrian side. Dagon and the 70 gods that serve Dagon. So it's having 70 scribes, and I think even Ugaritic, there's like 70 gods there too, right?
Yeah, there's 70, bro. There's 70 sacrifices, 70 lambs. There's 70 gods. There's 70 in Hittite too.
Hittite too. So I wouldn't say, and I agree with Bakken that there is Greek knowledge in the Torah in the LXX for sure. I definitely the final form has got all this updated philosophical language. You know, the pneuma, all that stuff, the ruach, the spirit, the breath of God. I think that's all Greek stuff. However, 70 is ubiquitous in Babylonian, Assyrian, the Kisu festival, where they literally sacrifice 70 bulls, and then the other one they sacrifice 70 lambs, and it's for the 70 gods that serve under Dagon. And in that pantheon, they have a Baal who's the son of Dagon. Dagon is that L of that pantheon. You literally, because it's like Baal, son of Dagon. It's like, oh,
Dagon's a pretty badass name, though. Let's keep it real.
He's the chief deity, dude. He's no joke, dude.
Dagon's
a real one. And he's not a fish god, by the way. He's not a fish god. Dagon has there's no mention of Dagon. And the reason why people think that is because the name Dag by itself in Hebrew or Phoenician would mean fish. So people just it was like there was good reason to think that, like, oh, fish, okay. But he's not. He's an agricultural, he's like Zeus or you know, maybe even like Saturn, Kronos, I think I would put him as. But anyways, somewhere in between Zeus and Saturn, I would say. But yeah.
They said Enlil on that, Enlil and Kumarbi. So that he, you know, Zeus, Enlil, Kumarbi,
It's never a 1-to-1 though. It's always they might have some attributes of Zeus, but then they might have some other of Kronos or something. Right. It's never a 1-to-1. Even Jupiter and Zeus from Roman and Greek have some differences. They're not identical. You know what I mean?
Bakken, you rock. Thank you so much for the super duper. I cannot pronounce your name, but you got some shekels. So now people can clip this.
Ashal.
People can clip this and finally say that Neal has been secretly being funded by Israel.
I could just read the name, yeah. Because I can read the name.
Greatest mistranslation. I will be that I will be.
Yeah, I will be that I will be. That's like a common thing. He's saying, no, I am no being, but becoming. Huh. That's interesting.
I guess
that would imply Parmenides' influence. If that's really what the translation is, then he's talking about. Then that would be a fucking. I'm not big into the whole, because I know there's a whole lot of debates on what this means and all this stuff. I will be that I will be is like, yeah, I guess that's a great if he's right, this is a great mistranslation. But I've no being but becoming. If that's really what the translation is, we're talking someone who's influenced by Parmenides. So, which could be, why not? It's in that we're talking in that time period. So.
Dang, bro. Bakken in the house again.
Oh, he asked me a question, didn't he? Go back.
I got another. Oh, yeah. No. I thought you answered him. Okay.
Oh, did you see my mail? I haven't seen the video yet, but I saw the mail. I haven't got to it. I will get to it. Thanks for reminding me. Appreciate it
so much. Bakken in the house says Torah consciousness begins with Simon the Just. The Torah had annals, records, and prophets, and floating mythologies used in teaching prior. The LXX uses Simon. He mentioned this in an audio, I believe, to me earlier today.
You hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay, I just gotta make sure I mute myself. Okay.
Yeah, Bakken, I'd like to see the sources just to get my head wrapped around what you're arguing specifically. But I think he said
the Torah consciousness begins with Simon the Just. The Torah. Oh, okay, I get what he means. There's an actual historical figure named Simeon the Just. You can look him up. And supposedly, I'll look him up. I'll pull this up. Supposedly, this guy lived in the 3rd century BCE. The sources about him is like Josephus, and Sirach mentions him, I guess. I didn't know that. I have to look that. I have to find that. So maybe he's a real person. I don't have a reason to doubt that yet. But what Bakken is saying is that this is the first person. This is the oldest account of somebody who's like Torah observant or whatever, or like Torah mindseted or whatever you want to call that. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy named he's dated he's placed in this part of the history. You know, that early Hellenistic period. So I don't know. I haven't looked too much into this person yet. I don't know much about him. I would like to look at all the sources that mention him and sort of compare them and kind of come up with something on that. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Great point.
Yeah, send me that information, Bakken, that you like the sources that you're looking at and what is got your brain ticking. Thank you. Dull and tired 8619. Thanks for the super chat. Hey Neal, would you debate Jay Dyer or Jim Bob on the origin of Lucifer?
Yeah, but they would never do that. So I know this is why I actually understand why he's asking this question. Lucifer is not a person in the Bible at all.
Yeah.
There's no Lucifer. So when you say Lucifer, these people are Luciferians, bro. They worship Lucifer. This doesn't exist. Isaiah 14 is not about Lucifer.
Nope.
It's about the king of Babylon, and it says you are so great, like Hillel ben Shakor, the shining one, son of dawn.
Yeah.
And then that gets translated into the Greek as Eosphoros, the dawn bringer. You were so great, like the dawn bringer, and then you fell. Look at you now. It doesn't mention Satan. There's no Satan in that passage at all.
Exactly.
So what happens is, what's his name? Who writes the Latin Bible? Jerome comes along, and Jerome translates the Bible into Latin, and he uses Lucifer for that passage. But still, even in that passage, it's not about Satan. It's about the king of Babylon. At some point in history, someone decided that passage was about Satan. So exactly. Now Satan is Lucifer. Now there is one passage in the New Testament where it says that Satan, he acts like an angel of light. He's which verse is that? Angel of light.
You talking about in the New Testament?
New Testament, Satan. It's 2 Corinthians 11:4. 2 Corinthians 11:4 says, here, let me just share my screen and show people what I'm talking about. 2 Corinthians 11:4. So this is where I'm kind of giving you the origins of the whole Lucifer stuff. It says, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light, or masquerades as an angel of light. That's it. That's the closest thing you're going to get to Satan being a Luciferian or light bringer. That's it. So people took that and ran with it, and then they decided that Isaiah was also about Satan, which is not. And all of a sudden you have Satan equals Lucifer. But in any context in Greek or Roman, whether it's phosphorus or Lucifer in Latin, it's either an epithet for Apollo or something, or an epithet of Diana, or I'm talking about the Latin side, or there's an actual small time daimon deity, little god, very very rarely attested. He's mentioned in Ovid's Metamorphosis. He's in inscriptions all over the place, and he's like a little angelic deity who carries a torch. That's it. That's Lucifer. That's all he does. Carries a torch.
If I may shamelessly plug, I've got a video. I'm going to just post it, unless you want to watch a little bit of it, because they did send a super chat. It's about this Lucifer thing, and I go to an ancient mythology prior about a god named Athtar, and I tell the story about Athtar. Athtar was simply, to put it in to the chase, Athtar goes back to Canaan. It goes back really further to ancient Mesopotamian myths, and Athtar went to go sit in Baal's chair. His feet didn't touch. So he couldn't fit the throne when he went to go try and take the throne of Baal. Notice in the context when it talks about, Lucifer, you try to ascend and make your throne above the throne of God, et cetera, et cetera. You try to ascend above the clouds, all that. Well, that's Athtar. Athtar tried to do that with Baal. He didn't fit the throne, and then, of course, was cast down. And this is a polemic. It's actually a political polemic, like you said, against a Babylonian king. And it's actually using an older myth, older than the biblical myth, to make a shameful jab at the current Babylonian king, or the one they're addressing within that prophet's material. It's hard to use an analogy that I could think of off the top of my head for modern example, but anyway, I have a documentary.
Let me show people what I mean by Isaiah 14. While we're on this topic, so I got all three versions here, so we can look at this. Mm-hmm. So he says, you'll take up this taunt. So it starts off, as Isaiah is the Lord will have compassion on Jacob and Israel. Obviously Israel and Jacob is the suffering servant for the millionth time. Everyone knows this, except for Christians for some reason. And then he talks about Israel will take possession of the nations and make them male and female servants in the Lord's hand. That's a fucking crazy prophecy. Israel will take possession of the Goyim. That's literally what it says. Yeah. They'll take possession of all of us. Oh no, that's never going to happen. Well, it looks like some people think it will. On the day the Lord gives you relief from your suffering and your turmoil, he is forced upon you. And then it says, you will take up this taunt against who?
The king of Babylon.
The king of Babylon. You want to know why? You want to know why Isaiah's writing this? Because they're being conquered by the Babylonians in this time. Duh.
They're kind of pissed off. I mean,
they're pissed off at the Babylonians. And by the way, Babylon is the ruler of the nations at this time. The Babylonian is the king of kings, the lord of lords at this very time. Nebuchadnezzar, king of kings, lord of lords. They're the leader of the Goyim. So what does he say? He gives us he says, take up this taunt against the king of Babylon. He says, what does he say to the king of Babylon? Notice, not Satan. He says, he says, where is it? 14, I think it is. Wait, which version is this? He says, take up this taunt against the king of Babylon. The Lord has broken the rod of the wicked, which in anger has struck the peoples with unceasing blows. All the lands at rest are at peace. Even the Jupiters and the cedars of Lebanon gloat over you. Now that you have become laid low, no one comes to cut us down. Mm-hmm. What's going? So it's literally in context of the late 7th century, early 6th century. This is how you know this is what's going on here. This is old. This is very old, dude. This is very old shit right here. The realm of the dead below is all astir, meeting you at your coming. Talking about Babylon will be destroyed. They will all respond. They will all say to you, you have become weak as we are. All your pomp has been brought to your grave. Maggots, blah, blah, blah. You have fallen. Here it is right here. Have you fallen from heaven, morning star, son of dawn? So here it is right here.
Yep.
Shamim.
That's where the last Lucifer comes in. Yeah.
Shamim means heavens. Hallel means shining. That's all it really means, is shining.
Right.
And then
right.
Ben Shachor, son of the dawn. And then what does the Greek side do? The Greek side goes, ho eos phoros, or heos phoros. Sorry about that. Heos phoros. So it literally just takes that whole passage and just brings it into one thing and says, Dawnbringer. Eos means dawn. Phoros means bringer. So you're literally the. Let me see if they have a Latin version in here. Let's see what the Latin. Let's see if we can find Jerome's Bible in here. Latin Vulgate. Boom. Watch this. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the Morning Star one? Here it is. Lucifer, right there. See it?
Yep.
There you go. There's your origin of Lucifer. I just showed you how every single text is just mistranslating, or not mistranslating. I shouldn't say this is actually a fine translation.
If you
Misunderstanding what is going on here. Exactly. The king of Babylon is Lucifer. And it's not saying Lucifer is bad here. Think about the context. It's saying you were like this morning star. You were so high up in the sky. You were bright. You were star. You were shining. You were light bringer. And then you were brought down. You were brought down. I say, I will ascend to the tops of the clouds and make myself like the Most High. But you were brought down to the realm of the dead. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
You were brought down, katabasen. You know, the katabasis. You were the katabasen. So you were brought down to the realm of the dead. So
let me share my screen real quick just to show people.
Look at that. Ad infernum. I love Latin. You were brought down to the inferno.
Infernum. So I'm going to share mine real fast just to show people. You talked about how old this stuff is. Well, if they're really curious, of course, my documentary gets into some of that. This is Isaiah 14. Some of the early church fathers talks about, such as Tertullian, along with Gregory the Great and scholastic commentators, linked this prophecy in Isaiah with Luke 10:18 and Revelation 12:8. As a result, they applied the passage to the fall of Satan or Lucifer, which it had nothing to do with. But because there is a fall of that old dragon, they just took it and made connections and said, well, he falls here. Therefore, we're going to connect him to what's really likely more Leviathan. It's a dragon. It's a Leviathan. It's a chaos monster. The mythology and Revelation, which we've talked about the Greek terms having actual deities mentioned in the Apocalypse of John in Greek. But then he goes on and on. Okay, where I wanted you to look at is this. We talk about how old this is. The key word for resolving this problem is Hallel, rendering it first as an imperative of the verb signaling how, son of the morning for your fall. Then it was connected to the verb to shine.
Wait, where did they get the how? Who wrote this?
I don't know who wrote this. I'm not sure about the Hebrew here.
Hallel usually means to shine or shining.
Well, I'm just reading you specifically trying to get into the Canaanite stuff, because this is not where I got my documentary information from. This
no, but think about that. Just it would sound weird. How son of the morning or something.
Right.
Shine dawn makes more sense. But anyways.
Anyway, yeah, he goes, then it was connected with the verb shine and made a derivative denoting bright one.
Okay.
Or more specifically, bright star, the harbinger of the bright. So in Canaanite mythology from Ugaritic, this is how ancient this idea is. The god Athtar seems to be connected with the morning star. At one point, the gods attempted to replace Baal with Athtar, but he declined as he found that he was unsuited for the position. The throne was too large for him. Athtar was the son of the Ugaritic god El and his wife Asherah. Athtar was the chief god in the South Arabian pantheon, known there as an astral deity, the planet Venus, the bright, morning star. In the Ugaritic world, he was known as the terrible, awesome one, or as the lion. Some have translated the first epithet as flash of lightning. The Ugaritic text 49, column 1, tells how his greed for power caused him to ascend the vacant throne of Baal, who had been dealt a death blow by the god of death, Mot, in the Baal cycle. Assisted by his mother, he attempted to fill the vacuum left by Baal, but he was unable to do so. His feet did not reach the footstool, and his head did not clear the top of the throne, so he descended, a katabasis, from the throne of Baal, stepping down so that he might rule over the grand earth. Notice he's brought to the ground in that text you're reading, to the earth. He's in the heavens. He's a god. He's being brought to the earth. Like Isaiah's Lucifer, he had aspired to ascend to a throne above the heavens, but suffered a fall. And I point out in my documentary, dude, this is no doubt ancient, but you can see why it would have worked. I don't think Athtar would have been significant in the Hellenistic period as a model. I think it would have worked in the 6th, 7th century when Babylon, Assyria, and Persia are still head honchos in the world. I doubt people are concerned with Athtar.
Yeah.
But then again,
I think it just might be simply you were high in the sky, and you're bright as a star, and that's just like, it's not even talking about a deity at all. It's just talking about the king of Babylon.
Of course.
And it's funny because I actually I'm not saying that because this prophecy technically does get fulfilled by the Persians defeating, and he even says later in Isaiah, it literally says, I will use my anointed one Cyrus to destroy the Babylonians. And that's where that prophecy gets fulfilled.
Right.
I don't think this is being written by somebody in the 600s. I think it's being written by someone in the 400s, 500, or before Cyrus.
It could be Persian period, though.
I'm saying it doesn't, but yes, but I'm not saying it's Hellenistic either.
Yeah.
I'm reserving judgment and saying this is how I think it's old. And I think it's referring to old sources. It's referring to the old events of Babylon conquering the Judeans. But the fact that he's like, I will bring you down to the nations, and not only will I bring you down, my anointed Cyrus will do it.
It sounds like it happened after.
This is all written later.
Yeah, after that, but it still would have had to land. And I do think that there is a strong case that the Athtar myth is behind why this trope works. There was a very well-known story where this deity does try to ascend the throne of Baal. And because of his hubris and attempt, and he doesn't fit the throne, just like that description of the Babylonian king is, I think it works because that was a well-known story. That's what I'm getting at.
That's interesting. I would like to see that story.
Yeah. I actually covered in that documentary.
It is true that Ishtar, where the name Athar is connected with, is the planet Venus, the morning star.
There's masculine and feminine, of course.
Yeah. So it would make, if there really was a myth about Athar,
it's in the Baal cycle.
Yeah.
It's literally in the same cycle.
Then I would agree that Isaiah is comparing
that's what he's doing.
King of Babylon to this star. Yeah.
It's a mockery of the king because everyone knows about what happened when Athar jumped on there. So it works because they know about this older story. That's what I'm getting at.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's literally that story. I'm simply saying it only lands because of the hubris. Like today, we have such a common story about Satan's fall. If a political leader does something out of hubris and then ends up getting killed or something happens, people go, just like Satan, you've fallen, you evil man. You thought you would be higher than God, just like Satan. Well, that works because people know about the story of the fall of Satan and the angels. They could use it as a trope. And I think that's what they're doing with the Athar story, because that's the same story. It's in the same text you brought up earlier about Yam. It's in the Baal cycle.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And it's from Isaiah too. Isaiah. So whoever's writing Isaiah is knows all these Baal cycle stories.
Bingo.
Yeah, I would say. I just looked it up. It says the Baal cycle tablets of Ugaritic. Baal is killed. His descendants are, and that might be comparing Josiah to Baal, the Lord, right?
Right.
Baal is killed. Athar attempts to take his throne on Mount Zaphon, but when he sits on Baal's seat, he's too small, and then he doesn't reach the top, so he descends back to earth.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
He's $2 super chat. Return Pahlavi Reza equals Moshiach ben Yusef.
Where is that one? Oh, right here. Return Pavla Reza equals Moshiach ben Yusef. That's funny. Because he's saying like Pahlavi Reza is the Persian royal dynasty from the previous dynasty that ruled before the Muslim, or they were Muslims, before the Shia, before the regime right now.
Right.
So before the regime right now, there was Pahlavi Reza and his father. So he's saying that him coming back is the Messiah, like is the new Persian king and the new Cyrus. It's funny. Good joke.
Wild. Oh, you missed this one. Praise like hallelujah, Parmenides in
Hallel. Yeah. Hallel. Hallel is the first part of hallelujah. So there might be it might be something like that too. That's the same word. There's two different words. One of them is praise, Hallel. The other one is shine. So they're like it's like the words chair and chair are the same, but they mean different. It's the same word, but there's two different meanings for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry, we missed that. I didn't see it.
No, I think he might have a point with the Parmenides thing. If that's really the translation, then I would say there's some sort of Parmenidean influence on this text. And Parmenides he lines up a lot with this type of thinking. He's the type of Parmenides is a type of modern thinker who's like doesn't care about idolatry or all that. Like he would be something they would draw from. Is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Another one just came in.
Wow.
Keep them rolling.
Bakken, thank you. Hasmonean period scrolls, a significant portion of Deuteronomy scripts, such as 4Q.
Danny V's dropped $5 super chat. Hasmonean period scrolls, a significant portion of the Deut. Scripts, such as 4 to the power of C, 150 to 75 BCE, and 2 to the power of A, 50 to 25 BCE.
To the power of to the power of 50. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the Dead Sea Scrolls attest to what we've been saying, is that you cannot find a physical piece of the Torah that goes back before the Hasmonean period.
Of course.
Nothing.
Well, the oldest fragment that I have heard any scholars attempt to try and place in the Dead Sea Scroll material, the
200 BC
is 3rd century BCE.
Yeah, I think most people deny.
But that's like one. Yeah. It's not the whole. It's like one.
I know. I've heard this all the time. I hear this all the time from people.
It's 4Q Samuel B.
But most people say it's not. Most people deny that though.
Yeah, like maybe
debates on that. And then
I'm just giving you one.
How do you even date this stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's. I don't know. It's not. There's a lot of subjective reasoning that goes into the debate. I'm not saying it's all bullshit. Yeah. I'm saying there's good reasons to date texts to certain time periods, but with texts like this, I don't know. It's like some people want to throw it back to the 3rd, but I'm saying most people I read put them in the 2nd or 1st.
Got it. Yeah, I'm just telling you what the scholars are saying, that there are some mid 3rd century BCE, possibly the oldest biblical manuscript at Qumran is 4Q Samuel B. And then there's another one they think might.
And guess what? That's Samuel, and it's not the Torah. So it's like
exactly, it's another prophet. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but I still would have to. I would still be skeptical of that dating. I have to talk to some other textual critics on that and see what they say.
I mean, I would be skeptical. Period. Even I bet you, if you talk to the experts, they'll say, give or take 50 years.
Right.
And then that's
a big deal for you and me, because are we talking about 170 now? Are we talking that, like, you know what I mean? That's the time when they would start writing this stuff down and copying it. You know what I mean?
But the point, I think, what we're trying to, in this episode, it feels like what we're trying to do is say, listen, like, we don't need everything to constantly be like gravity to the Hellenistic. Everything must be like we're apologists for a Hellenistic date. We're not. I don't want people to have that impression that we must be apologists to defend a later date for everything. No, these traditions go back. What we're seeing is redactors by this period writing a lot of this material, likely inventing much of it. But guess what? A century prior to that, they invented a lot of material there too. It's not like all of it was invented here. That's, I think, what you're trying to get pushback on, because you're watching people use your name and go, well, Neal proves that everything was invented in the Hellenistic period. Nothing is older than that is within the biblical material. And it's like, no, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah. I'm just looking up the Samuel 4Q22 one. I just want to see what's the data on that, or what people are saying.
I would say this too, while we got Bach and Super Chat up. I did do a video covering the Ark of the Covenant, and there are these, we'll call them reformations throughout the biblical text that you find from like Moses, Joshua. There's these, and the fact that the Ark of the Covenant is being taken from here to there. There are some oddities throughout the narratives that we find about the Ark of the Covenant and these revivals that happen. Josiah's revival, Hezekiah's, you find King David with Solomon. Like, all of this seems like romanticizing material, that there's too many plot holes in the narrative, that I do think it's written much later. And I thought to myself, well, the most ideal state where they really did have real archaeology shows that everyone repented, everyone started practicing these laws on a general base level in the Hasmonean period. That we can be concrete about. So you have to be cautious. You have to be a bit skeptical, because the earth itself isn't presenting the data we would want it to if we wanted it to be Persian or Babylonian or Assyrian, when the narratives say, oh, all Israel repented. Josiah doesn't just say, hey, 12 scribes, let's start practicing the Torah and let's obey these laws that we just found in the temple, likely Deuteronomy, as scholars say. No, it says that all the people in the narrative, it says all the people repented. All the people changed their ways and started keeping kosher and practicing the laws. We don't have that archaeology to show that happened in the time that Josiah says that happened. You do have, shrine issues and things like that we can look to archaeology and say, hey, they are trying to destroy some competitive shrines that are in competition with Jerusalem. But apart from that, not all of them were destroyed. And there's all sorts of red flags, man, with the narrative.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, Frank Moore Cross dates it to that period based on its archaic square script, Aramaic, by the way. So it's not even Hebrew; it's Aramaic. Mm-hmm. Oh no, the script is Aramaic. Sorry. So it's using a very archaic square Aramaic script. That's the reasoning for the debating. However, there are people who bring it all the way down to 120, and other scholars all the way to 120.
Interesting.
So I would have to listen. I mean, that's right there based off that one sort. That's a good reason to agree with Cross. If Cross is saying this archaic script right here is only found in 200s,
yeah,
that's why. Then I would go. That's fair. That's a logical, solution to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's Imperial Official Aramaic, which was common in the 600s to 330s BCE. Yeah. And in fact, this is why scholars, when they read the book of Daniel, they know the Greek portions of Daniel are late. They can see that Daniel's written in the Hellenistic period. However, there are stories in Daniel written in Aramaic that scholars see that are from earlier traditions. All they're doing is patching together this story to make it about Daniel, this prophet, and they're using the Aramaic stories inside of this text that they're now crafting a narrative about in the Hellenistic period, obviously later in the 2nd century BCE under Antiochus IV Epiphanes. But you know what's interesting about Daniel? Guess what we have in Daniel, Neal?
Yeah.
Guess.
What?
An older Daniel. So when you go back to the prophets, there's another guy named Daniel.
Oh, Daniel. Yeah.
Daniel. But here's the thing. There's so much overlap. There's been scholars who identified the later prophet Daniel, who is a wise man who can interpret dreams and all that kind of stuff, that this guy's looking to the prophets, but in Ugaritic, there's a Danel, literally a Danel.
Yeah,
yeah. I did a video showing how the later Daniel is not only lifting from the prophetic literature, which, by the way, places Daniel, not Daniel, like we always pronounce it, but Daniel. Daniel is also listed along with Enoch and Noah. So he's a completely fictive guy, and this guy comes from an older Ugaritic Daniel. So I love seeing that there's a tradition. That's my point. There's a long-standing tradition. Likely the prophet Daniel is inspired from this older mythology that we see in Ugaritic. And then later on, you get this Hellenistic Daniel, who's a prophet who can predict dreams and all that. He's in a king's court. The Daniel that's listed in the prophets, and of course in Ugaritic, it stands at the gates. And of course, there's an interesting story there. So if anyone wants to check it out, go check it out.
Yeah. There's another super chat coming in from Bakian in the house.
Why
is it echoing?
Because you got it going more than once.
I don't think so, though.
Shut down all regional temples around 130 BCE. Burned down Dagon, the Samaritan temple, forced converted Idumea.
John Hurt. Sorry, I wasn't reading. I was trying to fix my. Why is it? I have no idea why it's echoing. It's weird. I'm trying to fix it.
I'll read it. It just says John Hyrcanus's military campaign to shut down all regional temples around 130s BCE, burned down Dagon, the Samaritan temple, forced converted Judea, if you will, Idumea, if you will. Now, here's the thing. I was just talking to Bacchus earlier about this, Neal. And I love when I hear guys like Gamirkin, rest in peace, man. I wish this guy was still around because he was cooking up something. I was talking to him on private on the phone before he died. Weeks before he died, I was already talking to him about the project he's working on with the prophets. He's going in, he's finding some interesting shit. Well, he liked to find later historical periods where things were happening in history that seemed to be good places where they would have invented stories that they say are more ancient. Like here we have Dagon playing a role again. And I don't know what he would have said to this, but he liked to look later and say, hey, it looks like the biblical author may have invented this story around this time in history because of these events. and here's why. And then he'd look to the biblical text and he'd find precedent for it and show you.
Military campaign on regional temples around 130, burned down Dagon, the Samaritan temple, forced to convert. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's 130s. That's something I need to. I think Josephus is a big into that period, so that's probably where you're getting that from. Hyrcanus is definitely, it was a big deal. That's for sure.
For sure. Thank you, Bakken. Grandpa of 10 says hi. What's up, Grandpa of 10?
Thank you, Grandpa of 10, and hope you're enjoying your 10 grandkids.
Absolutely.
Did we get this one yet?
No.
Okay.
I don't know why we're missing the.
No, because they come in at the same time sometimes, and it's like weird.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Asaph. Burning Bush, man. Everlasting fire. Rabbi Giorgiani. Get it?
Yeah, he's a Persian.
By the way, Giorgiani. Speaking of Hyrcania, do you know the word Giorgiani is cognate with Hyrcania? So Giorgiani, Gorgon. So Georgia, the country Georgia, that's where Giorgiani comes from. Means like from Georgia. Giorgiani. Gorgon, where we get the word Gorgon from, like Medusa.
Yeah.
And in the going through the Semitic translation ends up being Harkon. And then Hyrcanus is someone from Georgia.
Gotcha.
Hyrcanus. Yeah.
Interesting.
So Giorgiani literally means Hyrcanus. Jason is as Jason Hyrcanus. It's the same way. It's the same word, just different translation.
Talk to that guy in anytime.
He's coming on my channel very soon, in a couple more days.
Interesting. What are you talking about?
My audience fucking loves Giorgiani, dude. They fucking love it. That guy.
What's the topic?
He wrote a book about what is it called? He wrote a book called the hold on. Let me just pull up the book so I don't get the name wrong. He wrote a book called Fundamental Thinkers.
Okay.
And it's basically about the like Plato, Nietzsche. He's got a chapter on, hold on a second. He's got a chapter on Heidegger, Nietzsche, Hegel, Kant, Aristotle, Plato.
Is rating you shekels super chat. Galileo from the Galilee?
Galileo from the Galilee. That's what the name means, though. It means like Galilean. It's just like it's an Italian name that has a Christian meaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Galileo's not really from the Galilee, but the name is like Galilean. That's what it means, Galileo.
Interesting.
Italian.
Look, I'll tell you that what got me when I was like, is the whole remote viewing, bro. We went from like normal shit to complete like CIA, remote viewing and stuff.
So the thing about that's a weird topic that I agree with you. I'm not big into that.
I just was throwing.
There is some like government what do you call it? Unclassified, declassified reports about like them seriously dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, there's.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. But I'm like, it came out of nowhere. We're supposed to talk about like Persian, like ancient Zoroastrianism or something, and then it went like.
Well, if he's assuming that you are,
like,
who introduced you to him again? It was
I can't even remember.
No, it was not the Gnostic guy. What's his our buddy. The Gnostic channel.
Miguel,
yeah.
Did he?
Sorry, Miguel. I just drew a blank.
I can't remember. I'll be honest. But I was just like,
that's what happened. That's what happened. Yeah.
We went from.
I have a good memory, dude. That's what happened.
Boom to boom, and I was like,
yeah, but he was assuming like, oh, this is one of Miguel's guys, and look, he wants to go deep. Let's go deep.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
Hold on, dude. Look. All right, go ahead now. You know what I'm saying, like, bro?
Yeah.
But I think he's a fun, entertaining guy to listen to. I'm not gonna lie, like he's entertaining as hell, and he's a
PhD and he's a full teacher.
Yeah, I'm not trying to knock that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like I've watched him and he's entertaining as hell too. He's not only a smart guy, but he's very.
You can ask him any question about any philosopher, whether it's from China or America or Germany, and he'll tell you a big, in-depth answer on them. He's just a walking encyclopedia of philosophy. It's fucking kind of crazy to see.
At Iota Kappa Omega Beta Omicron Signal 1111.
Couldn't say the name in Greek.
Super chat. Do not kidnap in the Decalog would bring down all Abrahamic faiths for writing do not steal, focused on ending human trafficking. The Bavli, Rashi, Rambam, Ranban. They all agree.
Do not. So you're saying the word that word tiganab, that's not, that means, so you're saying that's saying don't kidnap rather than just don't steal or don't do theft. I never thought about that. That's interesting. I mean, I would like to see the usage. I would like to see a list of that usages and see, is it ever used for just minor thefts, or is it always used for kidnapping a person, and then it makes its way into the Bible, and it's now all of a sudden we're translating it as do not steal. Then you'd have a strong case, Jakobos. So if that's the case, that's what I would do if I was you. If you wanted to make that argument, that is, this is just about kidnapping. This is not about stealing. That I would say, okay, pull up a list of all the times that this word is used. Is it ever used for just minor stealing? Then you're dead in the water. You're just game over. It could be steal. If it's never used for just stealing food or an item or something, and it's always used in this one context for taking people and trafficking, then you have a good case and you should write an article.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I'm fully getting what they're trying to, what is their ultimate, point here, because I've read, obviously I can't read the Hebrew, but I've read that there's obviously condemnation of stealing people, stealing someone else's slaves, or stealing someone and kidnapping them and making them into a slave. I'm not sure I'm getting what their point is. Is it simply saying that modern people are
basically saying that the writer, whoever wrote this, was intending to say, do not kidnap people. As if like there was a problem with kidnapping in the time, human trafficking, whatever. Right. And so I'm not sure what he means by the Bavli, Rashi, Rambam. I don't know what that is. They all agree. Maybe.
It would bring down Abrahamic faith, so, and I'm not sure.
Whoa. Why would it bring down Abrahamic faith if they're outlawing kidnapping?
That's what I'm wondering. Because are they saying that?
You gotta think about. I don't know. Maybe I'm not reading it right, but yeah.
Yeah.
And the Decalog would bring down all Abrahamic faiths for writing. Yeah. Why would they want it if they want to end it? This is what I don't understand about some of the Ammonites too. Is like they're constantly outlawing all this stuff in the text, and they're like, but they're all like, it's like, I don't know. You get what I'm saying. So like, there's times where it says like, don't do this, or this is wrong, or that, and they read it and they just look at the part where it's being outlawed, and they like, it says this word, like they're like little kids.
I don't understand, but
another example is like in the garden when the Neoniskos runs away, it says his sindon fell off and he ran away naked.
Right.
That means he wasn't naked. If you can, basic, this is like basic IQ above 40. Sorry, but it means he ran away and it fell off. He wasn't naked before, because then you have to say he was naked, then he put on the sindon, and then it fell off and he ran away.
Right.
So he's not with a naked kid. Or Neoniskos is not even a kid anyway. So like, do you see what I'm saying? There's all these weird word game plays these people play.
Yeah,
I'm not saying Jakobos is an Ammonite. I'm just saying.
No, I might be reading into it a different way.
I could be totally reading it wrong.
That's why
But I would say it couldn't you can't bring down Abrahamic faiths for them outlawing kidnapping. Even if you were right, even if your translation is absolutely spot on, and you couldn't find this word ever being used for stealing ever, and it's only used for kidnapping, and I would say, wow, that's a really good point. But it's still, they're outlawing it. They're not saying go out and kidnap. You know what I mean? It's doing the opposite. It's saying the opposite. So
yeah, I don't think that's what they're trying to say here. I don't think they're trying to say that it's like going, yeah. I think the fact that if I'm reading the super chat right, mind you, it's this little tiny bit here. The Decalog also condemns murder. How many times do we find murder? Even what
shows
looks like
proof of religious trafficking.
But
why would they? Why would they? Yeah, why would they write a law outlawing trafficking?
Well, people were stealing other people's slaves or kidnapping people, and it wasn't just in Israel. It's like a worldwide issue. Hammurabi's code talks about this as well.
Yeah. No one's denying that. But like, if they're sorry, Jakobos, but this is just funny to me. If they're writing a code saying "do not traffic people," why would that bring them down? it's just like it just doesn't make any sense, man. I don't know. It's evidence of religious First of all, what do you mean by religious trafficking?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what you mean by that at all.
Yeah.
Here we go. He's back with another one.
Okay.
Low tignub is a capital offense, not a pickpocket. Well, we understand that.
Yeah. I mean, murder is a capital offense according to the Decalog. So, if murder is wrong, and let's say Israelites did murder, did all Abrahamic faiths get defeated because of that?
Wait, so why would that bring? Can you don't have to send another super chat, Jacob, but just write in the chat. Why would them writing a law against kidnapping bring down their whole thing?
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like
what would be the reasoning for? Oh, we don't want you to go out and kidnap people. So all of a sudden you find out that this translation is about kidnapping. How would this bring down
kidnapping? Are they like taking kidnapping like literal kid, or are they saying like you?
Well, that's a whole nother thing. Like
you can kidnap adults. Adults can be taken against their will all the time.
So I don't know. I have a lot of questions on what you're trying to say here. Are you trying to say this is somehow promoting kidnapping? Because that's what the word low means do not.
What is
that? It means no. It's a negative saying no. So do
you know who this super chatter is?
No.
Okay. I didn't know. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know about that. We could pull it up in the Hebrew and look at it, and then maybe do a word search for that. Which passage is that again?
The one that's
do not steal passage.
Let me try and find it.
I'm guessing like Exodus somewhere. Exodus something. Let me know when you have it.
Mm-hmm. There's also one about taking slaves and making.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised if that word is used. What I would like to know is that word only used for taking slaves or taking.
So there's Exodus 21:16 is like the primary one, the main one. Whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death.
Oh, okay.
This is a known thing that you could go and steal a free man.
Yeah, but I'm asking in the 10 Commandments though. Where's the 10 Commandments passage?
Oh, where's the 10 Commandments?
Yeah, no, I'm not asking when that word is used for kidnapping. I'm saying what the passage in the 10 Commandments where it says do not steal. Which one is that?
Let me get that exact passage. It is Exodus 20:15, which is kind of
right
close to a chapter before.
Okay, so he might actually have a case here about the kidnapping thing. But I'm just all right. So let me share my screen. 2015, right?
2015. You shall not steal. Now, if you're looking for the one about the stealing a person, it's 21:16.
So low tiganab, and then saying you shall not. So it's only saying you shall not. So he's basically saying this word means kidnap. Let me see if I can find uses of this. Continue on with the next super chat.
Well, he followed up, said something about Leviticus. So now he's talking about a different passage, I guess. I'm not sure which one. He just said Leviticus. He just said it's in Leviticus.
So this word just means to steal. It means to take. It means to take. That's not you. It's steal. Now, if this is like kind of an Ammonite thing. No offense, Scott, man. But when you find that word by itself, I'm looking it up, and it's usages of the word. Here, look at this. Usages. Watch this. So, and I'm just pulling up Strong's just for now because it's very, very easy to people to see it, and I normally would use a different a better. But look at this. You can see the word is being used for any type of stealing or even deceiving. So the word is being used in all these different stealing. Rachel had stolen them. Talking about remember those items that she stole?
Mm-hmm.
Now it can be used for kidnapping. So here it is right here, kidnapping. Stealing silver right here. Stealing silver. So no, Jacob, I can't agree with you here.
Underscore dropped 15 Israeli new shekels.
Hold on.
All the names in the super chat: Rashi, Rambam, Maimonides, are the chief classic rabbis.
Yeah.
Check Ibn Ezra to get the deepest.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if there was something about this being kidnapping.
Yeah.
However, this word does not just mean kidnap. This word means to steal. Period.
Yeah.
So the translation. So here's the problem with this. You can see how it's always about stealing. It's always about all types of different stealing. Kidnapping does show up. Yes. Kidnapping, because kidnapping is stealing. Spoiler alert.
Of course.
Kidnap is to steal. However, when you go to Exodus 20 and it just says lo tignob, it doesn't say, there's no context about people. There's no context about kidnapping. There's no context about children. You're reading in here. You're putting things in here that don't exist. It doesn't say what you're trying to say. So when you point to, so what verse did he tell us to look at? Because I'm going to show you right now.
I haven't been paying attention. I think it was Leviticus is what they were talking about.
Leviticus.
I haven't seen a verse yet. Let me see.
Leviticus what?
I don't.
I'm asking him to put it in the chat. Leviticus what? Let's give us the Leviticus verse that you think is about kidnapping.
And it might be. I mean, again, I think the Exodus 21 is about that.
That's what. Okay, let's go to Exodus 21 then.
Yeah, go to Exodus 21, verse
Exodus
16.
21. Hold on one second. So watch this. This is the difference here. So right here, it just says tigano. The word, and you can see the word is used in hundreds and hundreds of places for any type of stealing. Any type of stealing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go to 21, this is actually a really good lesson for people to have better methodology. So let's see, kidnap. Right here. So you can see this, it's the same word being used. Take a knob. Let me see if I can find. Right here. Anyone who kidnaps someone who is someone to be put to death, whether the victim has been sold or still in the kidnapper's possession. Yeah. So it has a context where it's actually talking about actual people. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would like to see, so for example, when Ammon says Christ thing is always about drugs, right? He says always about drugs. And wait a minute. Actually, this is not right. This person's wrong. They're using a different word for stealing here. Now it's got the word ganab in it. But it doesn't have that. It's not the same word. Ganab, I guess means, or whatever. Let's just say this is the same word. Tiganab or ganab are the same root. It's got that ganab root to take or whatever. But what does it say right after that? Aish. Anyone who kidnaps a person. Ganab ish. See what I'm saying, dude? It's literally talking about a person being stolen. It doesn't. So you can't. This word by itself does not mean kidnap. Ganab ish means kidnap. So okay. So this is what happens with the Ammonites. Ammon shows them a passage where Christing is used with pharmacon. Mm-hmm. I'm using the word Christing to just use the language.
Applying.
Anointing. When it says she anoints the pharmacon on herself,
right? It's
saying she's putting drugs on herself. That does not mean when you find the word Christ by itself, it has something to do with pharmacon. You have to have that word pharmacon next to Christ for it to be about drugs. Context. You can't just take a word. Look, if I said this, I'm placing my camera in my drawer.
Dude, you got Ammonites hating you right now in the chat.
I don't care. They're all idiots.
I can't believe you have them still following you, watching you. Like, this is
listen, guys, stop talking and listen for a second. If I wrote, I'm placing the camera in the cabinet, right? Uh-huh. And then another passage, I say, I'm about to place it over here, or I'm about to place some detergent into the washer machine. Does that mean I'm talking about cameras? Placing? No, idiots. There's nothing to do with cameras, but I use the word camera and place in the same spot over here. This is the lowest IQ shit in the world.
1111 dropped 5.
Yeah, okay. Ganav is the root verb. Fine.
Ganav the root verb. Chumash Rashid Sanhedrin 86a. This is translated do not steal, and then directly in the commentary Rashi says kidnapping. Talmud.
Yes. Steal. The word is steal. Ganav means steal. That's it. That's what the word means. So if you want to, if there's humans involved, if the context says steal a person, now we're talking about kidnapping. It's that simple. It's very, very simple.
What is the
very,
point?
very simple?
I don't get what their point is. What
because
are
they want it to be about little children being kidnapped so they can be used for drugs or whatever the hell it is.
Wow.
They have this sick theory in their heads. It's actually kind of like it's demented. These I don't know. I'm not saying I don't know if Jacobus is an Ammonite. I'm guessing he is, based on the insistence that this word has to be about kidnapping and it's going to take down the Abrahamic religions. But the way he's talking makes me think he's an Ammonite.
Kidnapping, like today, adults are kidnapped all the time. I mean, like it's a simple phrase of stealing a person against their will, or you know what I mean?
Super chat. In Hebrew,
I don't get it.
Judges 21 Hebrew count.
I don't know what he means by that. What is he talking about?
Someone said you grenade my heart.
So so whatever. No, the point I'm making is you can't just find a word that means one thing in one context and then just decide that it means the same thing everywhere else. I just showed you guys. Look at this. Let me show them again.
Someone said adults can't get kidnapped. That's adult napped.
No, the word kidnap means to steal a person.
That's
dumbass.
all it means. Yeah, I know it's a joke. I think they're joking.
Oh, they're joking? Okay.
I hope they're joking.
If they're serious, they're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, that's seriously like mental dimension right there. Okay. But look at this. Steal, taken up, stolen.
And then ish is just man.
If you have the word ish in there, it means you stole a person from him, stolen from him. So let's see this. Exodus 22. Let's go to one. Oh, steal an ox. Wait a minute. I thought you said it's about kidnapping. But he stole an ox here. So what do you mean? Look at this.
Stole a baby ox, duh. A little child ox, duh. Because he has special rituals he wants to do with the kid ox as well as the kid human, you know?
Yeah, so he's got the same root word, ganab, right? So steals, he's talking about oxen. So is that kidnapping? Is that about little children? No, it's not. You can steal anything, dude. The word is steal.
Yeah.
So without that context there, in Exodus 21, if it doesn't say tiganab ish, you will not steal man, or you will not steal. Yeladim means children. Tiganab yeladim. If it doesn't say that, then you can't translate it as that. Period. Then just get out of the humanities if you can't do it. Just go and do something else, dude. If you can't take your own fucking personal biases out of the shit, it's not for you. You're gonna end up like a fucking Amon Hillman type of guy or Graham Hancock. You're just gonna be laughed at all the time. But if you can't, to do this type of work, you have to be able to take off your bias and do the work objectively. Like, how many people do we know who are like, it's all about astrotheology. Everything's astrotheology, or it's all about comedy, dude. Everything's comedy. It's all comedy. Even when it's not comedy, it's comedy. Or it's all about drugs. Everything's drugs. Everything's coded for drugs. It's like, guys, you're seeing what you want to see. But what about this? I found a paper from 1926 that agrees with me. So therefore, shouldn't you agree? Seriously, this is what I see every single day. It's like, if you can't do it, don't do it.
Let me ask you this: what has been the fallout? Now you got me thinking about what happened with you and the. I really.
There's a rabbi that agrees with me. There's a rabbi. I found a rabbi that agrees with me from 1926. Like, shut up, dude.
I'm talking about your engagement with the girl who is like obviously under the spell of Ammon. What's been the conclusion of all that?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I gave her homework. I said, can you find me just one primary source from antiquity in any language you want I don't care if it's Greek or Latin or Egyptian. Find me one primary source where someone takes a prepubescent child and extracts semen from them to make an antidote for a burning purple ritual, mystery rite. Because it doesn't exist.
At back in underscore
Fucking.
Oh, the answer. Just to say the answer. I'll read this first.
7 Hebrews could sell themselves but not be stolen.
Mhm.
Had repatriations and release for slaves due 1512 to 50. Perhaps Hasmonean new rules.
Could be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I tend to think it's older.
The point is, I asked for a source and they never delivered. It's been over a week now. They don't exist. Yeah, I said your homework is to give me any primary source anywhere that talks about a prepubescent child being used to extract their by the way, prepubescent children can't have semen. That's the whole point of being prepubescent. But let's just pretend it does. Give me a source where there's prepubescent ejaculate being used for a burning purple mystery rite. It doesn't, and they never came out. And her reaction, dude, was like a possessed demon. It was like, they're everywhere. It's everywhere. Like very nervous type of laughter. But the reaction was so weird because it was like in her head, she actually thought this existed. She actually thought.
I know. They really do.
Amun is being honest.
I think they really believe.
Where is it? Why can't they ever?
I know it doesn't matter if he never shows it. It doesn't matter. He just says the words.
It's a religion now. It's a faith.
Yeah.
They believe in the burning purple. We have faith in the burning purple. We have faith that it exists. We know it exists. You just can't read the Greek like we can. You can't read it like we can.
Right.
Like every classicist from every century who studied Greek for 50 years of their lives never had this translation, never found this out before.
You have to smoke the purple first before you read the Greek. Then you'll see it. You know what I'm saying?
Chat. Catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. Check the Hebrew for catch. This is the correct man theft.
Catch the Hebrew for catch. This is the correct man.
Catch you every man his wife. Oh, we got another one.
I don't know what he means by that.
Yeah.
Kappa Omega Beta Omicron Sigma 1100.
Sanhedrin 86A.
$2 super chat.
Yeah, listen.
Open Sanhedrin 86A. See the ruling on kidnapping.
Yes. Okay. Let's open that up.
It's probably going to repeat something like we just read in Exodus.
Yeah, but listen, Jacob, you don't understand. The word by itself does not mean kidnap. You can't just decide that it means that. I don't even care if a rabbi thinks it does. Where is it? You got to give me a real passage here.
It's a whole page. Look up.
Yeah, this is insanely large, dude. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Please tell me in the comments right now which passage. Are you there? Come on, dude. Tell me the passage.
86A, right? I'm going to word search.
86A is gigantic.
I'm going to just look up stealing or.
Okay, here we go. In regard to abduction, how does Rabbi Yehuda interpret the verses that he arrives at? So let's just see here. So we're talking about abduction, right? And it says, shouldn't the term be for his brethren rather the abducts a slave? Notice how they're not using the word steal for that. Ganab is not even on here. It's not even up here at all. So, okay, let's just keep going. Gemara answers, Rabbi holds that the term from this verse from his brethren, Deuteronomy 24, serves to exclude the liability of one who abducts slaves. So this is not even about the Ten Commandments anymore. This is about Deuteronomy 24:7. Want to see Deuteronomy 24:7? Here, look, Deuteronomy 24:7. Watch this. I don't know what these people think they're doing. I don't understand this. Look at Deuteronomy 24:7. If anyone is found to have kidnapped and then enslaved a fellow Israelite, the kidnapper shall die. It has nothing to do with it. Just thou shalt not steal. Right?
I think you're right. I mean, it's obvious that's a human, that's a free person, specifically an Israelite in that context, that's being abducted. or stole. They're stealing them. It's the same shit, man. I mean, I don't.
Can he tell me what he means? Like, I just want to know, like, dude, what are you talking about? You're talking about rabbis talking about kidnapping in 86a means that the word "thou shalt not steal" means it's about kidnap.
I'd like to know what
I want to know how these people commute on a daily basis, or how they not get hit by a bus on accident.
I don't. I'm gonna be honest.
How do you walk around and how do you live without like being? How can someone this dumb not? How can they get around? Like, do you have like a helmet on or something?
Hold on. Let me ask. I'm popping it back up to us real quick here. I really just write it out. I'm looking for you. What is your point in the most basic? I'm 5 years old.
Look at this. Look at this. What?
This protects the church.
This protects the church.
What protects the church? This is why I'm asking for a conclusion. Remember listen, no offense, but remember the guy who used to come in super chat and he would like connect everything from like strange etymological, philological kind of like tie-ins, and he would like super chat 80 times. And I'm like, well, what's your point? And they would like send in like things that don't, like, I just could not get their connection. Well, they emailed me one time and it didn't make sense, bro. I don't know.
They're gone. Look at this. It's literally about kidnapping a fellow Israelite. This is the one you told me to go to. This is the one you told me to go to, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
And by the way, real quick, it's talking about selling them too. So it's saying, it's like this word right here, enslaved, exploited, this one right here. It means it's here, this one right here.
Hold on. They wrote it protects the church from being guilty of chattel slavery and kidnapping, and Jerome says it in his Vulgate. I don't
It's already in the Bible, chattel slavery. They're not why would they
Yeah.
Dude. Chattel slavery is in the Bible. They're not protecting anything. It's there. And it lasted all the way up until the 1800s. So what are you talking about? Protects them. They did it till the 1800s. What do you think the Civil War was over? Derek?
Yeah. I my brain is starting to hurt.
I don't understand some of these people, man. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude, but like
this is why my initial.
So he says, "Thou shalt not steal." Tiganab means kidnap.
Right.
And I said, well, where are you getting that from? I pull up a whole list of the usage of tiganab where it's used for stealing anything.
Yeah.
Objectively, that is that's a fact. Tiganab means to steal. Then he says, open up Sanhedrin 86a. I open it up. It's about kidnapping people. So you're literally doing the Ammonite thing, dude. I found a passage where the word's used for kidnapping. That means it's always about kidnapping. You're literally doing that thing, dude.
At _ dropped 15 Israeli new shekels super chat, thief of soul. Check THR Hebrew in Judges Plaza. We have another specific word.
Yeah, because nahash means of soul. Like that's where the word ganab by itself is just stealing.
Yeah, so that's why when I first heard the first super chat, in my mind, I'm like, okay,
Judges what? Go ahead.
So how does this make Abrahamic faiths fall, right? That's why I'm like, you put some clues in the super chat that made me think you believe this somehow leads to the fall of Abrahamic religions, when this text is talking about a human taking someone against their will, or they're already a slave and you're kidnapping them. But the text probably is implying free people, that you're taking someone and making them against their will your slave, likely, whether it's chattel, whatever it might be. The point is that's wrong, and you should be put to death if you get caught trying to steal another human being. And I was like, how does that make Abrahamic faiths fall? Are they saying, well, the church stole other human beings? What are they trying to say? Clearly, the text says, thou shalt not murder. Many Christians, many Abrahamic believers and non-Abrahamic have murdered. Does that make the Abrahamic faith no longer valid? If that's your argument, okay, I could see your problem with they don't follow their own laws.
But no, he's wrong though. You want to know why? Because it says do not steal, but then in other passages it says how to conduct moral slavery or whatever.
Right.
Literally saying slavery is part of our culture.
I agree.
We're not outlawing slavery.
I'm talking about stealing, the theft of a human being into slavery that way. There were kosher ways of doing it, right? During war, you could take people, whatever. But unless it's like annihilate every man, woman, and child type passages, which gets cruel. But I was reading that initial super chat that way. That's all I was trying to get at. So anyway.
So Judges, he said Judges 21:21. I think he said. Did I read it wrong? 21:21. And it says, and behold, the daughters of Shiloh came out to dance, and they came out of the vineyards to watch every man and his daughters to go to the land of Benjamin. What do you mean? What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing here, dude? I don't know what you're talking about.
This is wild.
Is there some sort of kidnapping going on here? What you said? Judges 21:21. I'm here right now.
Look at 20 in case it's the Hebrew, because sometimes there's a verse off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see if he's still in the chat. 20. They command the children of Benjamin, saying, "Go and lie and wait in the vineyards." And the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives. I think this is what he's talking about.
Okay.
And took them wives, which would be. This is the word Isha, wives. So he's talking about this word right here. What's this? This would be, let's see when this is, let's see. This is, no, that's Benjamin. That's what we're talking about. It's Benjamin.
It's a pretty ugly passage.
Right here. Nashim, wives. So this word means, so this is a different word. Is that what he's saying? And they took Vayisua, or Vayisu, right here. So Vayisu, Nashim. Nashim is the plural for wives. He's saying this is the word for kidnapping people. So he's actually giving us, this is actually really helpful. They have a word for kidnapping, Vayisu, Nashim. So thank you for pointing that out. It's a really good point. So Jacob, they already have a word specifically for kidnapping.
Yeah, so
Vayisu.
They're writing more. They're saying this, and now I'm reading additional. Septuagint and the Vulgate on the KJV all say do not steal and allow for kidnapping. Why not just say do not kidnap in the Decalog, and then they follow up, stop human trafficking. It's a capital crime listed on the second tablet. So if you're saying that ancient slavery is that, which I think you and I would say slavery is not good no matter what, there's no justifying that. That is a form of kidnap in a way. They're against their will. You have some who might have had sold themselves into slavery to try and provide for whatever means. Still doesn't mean that it was a good thing for them, clearly. But there's chattel slavery. There's owning humans for life, for perpetuity, for your children and their children's children, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's hard for me to understand, because it does sound like going and you can see how these ancient minds thought of slavery as an okay system, but we would look at it and go, no, that's human trafficking. Yeah. If that's the point of the super chatter, then okay, I get what you're saying. And yeah, we would agree that it's wrong. It's bad, no matter what. Everyone did it, though. Everyone. Greek society, Jewish societies, everyone.
Yeah, this is not. Yeah, you gotta. I don't know. That's that is what you're doing, given the benefit of the doubt. But it sounds like to me they're saying this word means to do not kidnap. Yeah. And if we translate it that way, that proves that they were kidnappers, and therefore we should that takes down their entire thing. It just doesn't. It's really, really weird to me. I'm
trying to think the way I think they're thinking, but again, difficult to.
Yeah. So that word right there, that word Vayisu to means literally they carried away or kidnap. Yeah. So look, the whole point is this. If you're going to make an argument like that, you got to look at the context of that word. Who cares about some rabbi in 1926 or rabbi in 400? Like, if you want to, the people who think like it's all about comedy or it's all about drugs or it's all about astrology, you got to do this. You got to look at the text and read it, the context of it. Take your whole brain off for a second and just read it. Is this word always used for kidnapping? Is it always used for kidnapping? If it is, then you got a strong point. But if I can show you 20 examples where the word is just used for stealing, a piece of cattle or silver, it literally says, and they stole silver, then you don't have a good case. You're just making shit up. But I hope people learned a little bit from this. I hope so.
I'm learning. I think clearly everybody's,
Hawk and Pan in the house. The forming of the Hasmonean dynasty would have been of an era of Hebrew freedom from Greek slavery. Deuteronomy lays down new laws for his kingdom. Yeah. I don't think Deuteronomy was written in this time, though. So I don't know if I would say Deuteronomy is written at this time. I think it's using sources that do go back to the Hellenistic period. Like you mentioned, that Samuel manuscript might actually be 250, maybe.
Might be.
I think that's pushing it a little bit. But I do think that these texts are written before the Hasmonean dynasty. They become law of the land during the Hasmonean dynasty.
Right. There's an existent law code, but so this
is. But I agree with Bach and Pan though. It is laying Deuteronomy. They're using Deuteronomy to lay down the new laws for the new kingdom. Absolutely.
But even then, how much of it are they potentially crafting at the time?
At the time period, that's possible.
Yeah. Are they making? Are they inserting material too, as well as pulling from ancient laws? Remember, now Plato is the template that we would look to and go, he's saying what you want to do is find ancient laws. You want to have your law codes given by God at the founding of a nation from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Berosus is doing this. Manetho is doing this.
The problem, though, is that they already translated the Deuteronomy into Greek by then.
Right.
Because the Septuagint is a product of the 3rd century BCE.
Yeah.
Or in that Ptolemaic period. And the Deuteronomy is part of the Torah.
Right.
So if they translated Deuteronomy and it's already going around, and then you start a new law code in 160, then you have a problem there. Because then you would find a completely different Deuteronomy in the Hebrew side than you would in the Greek side. Also, I also want to tell you something. Some of these laws that you think are just Judean are also part of the Mediterranean world. Athens had a lot of these law codes too.
I don't know if they think they're just Judean. I think we might be reading into the super chat. But I would say your point is a good one.
Well, it says right here, Hebrew freedom from Greek slavery, Deuteronomy lays down laws for a new kingdom. But as Gommerkin points out, and where's the book right here?
Yeah.
Plato, if you read Plato and the creation of the Hebrew Bible,
the law codes have parallels with the Athenian law codes and other things like that. Yeah.
He points out 70% of what you find in Deuteronomy are just mundane law codes that you find everywhere, even in Greek and Athenian law codes.
And then some are exclusively only found in Athenian law codes. But still, you can still use those laws and be breaking away from a Greek system. So
Latin has lex talionis, is a Latin law code from the Roman Republic, which means eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, basically. It means reciprocal. It means if you do something to me, the law is going to be exactly back to you.
Right.
That was in Latin. So I'm just trying to point out, some of this stuff is not necessarily only Judean laws.
Yeah. One thing I would say too, to your point about the translation, is even if there was a translation of an existing already Hebrew Bible based on historical, insights, we do think, even though it's legendary in the way that it's described, it's still saying that this was commissioned at a certain time. Yeah. We don't deny historical bedrock behind the legend, even if we don't know exactly how it happened. But there is a historical kernel that says, hey, there was a translation that took place. The question I would have then for you, though, Neal, is suppose they already wrote it, but there is still a fluid transmission of this scribal material. And so we don't have any of the preserved earliest materials that might indicate that. So you have a Septuagint that's a tradition floating along with the Hebrew tradition, and we end up getting them changing stuff in Deuteronomy as time goes by, just like maybe the Septuagint is, and we just don't have the preserved documents. I don't know. I tend to agree with you, though, that once they translated it, there was likely already a pretty established Torah in which they're copying. Things are still fluid down into the Common Era. So.
And by the way, real quick, so the what was I going to say? Oh, the mundane law codes line up. The religious law codes, those are Israelite law codes. The religious law codes. Mm-hmm. So the circumcision and all that stuff. You don't find that in Greek. And Gommerkin knows that too. So, real quick though, I think I found what this guy's talking about in this Sanhedrin thing, because it says, "From where is their production against a person derived? You shall not steal." And he quotes Exodus 23. But notice how he just says, "You shall not steal." And it says that verse is derived from the verse, "They shall not be sold as slaves." Leviticus 25. The Gemara comments, they do not disagree. Each requires both verses to derive the prohibition. One sage, Rabbi Yoshia, enumerates the prohibition against abduction, and one sage enumerates the prohibits against the selling and abducting of a slavery.
Mm-hmm.
The sages taught in the Baraita, "You shall not steal." And it is with regard to one who abducts people that the verse is speaking. Do you say that the verse is speaking with regard to one who abducts people, or perhaps the verse is speaking only with regard to one who steals property? You say, "Go out and learn from the one of the 13th hermeneutical principles, a matter derived from its context, with regard to what the adjacent prohibitions, you shall not kill, you shall not commit adultery." In the verse speaking, they are speaking with regard to capital cases. So to here, the prohibition is speaking with regard to a capital case of abduction.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a and then it says, it's taught in another Baraita, "You shall not steal." And it is here, you got to keep reading these things sometimes. Yeah. It is with regard to one who steals property that the verse is speaking of. Do you say that the verse is speaking with no regard to one who steals property?
No,
or with regard to one who steals property? Or perhaps the verse is speaking only with regard to one who abducts people? And then this is the confusing Talmud always does this. You go out and learn from the one of the 13th hermeneutical principles, a matter derived from its context with regard to what context is a subsequent verse. You shall not either exploit your neighbor nor rob him. Speaking, it is speaking with regard to property. So to here, the verse is speaking with regard to property. So you just keep on reading, dude. It's talking about both. Don't steal people, don't steal property. Do not steal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And I think we shouldn't do that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
I think it's just clear. The text just says, it literally just says, "Do not steal." I don't think you can really do anything with that.
Well, Bakken sent another one in. Thank you, Bakken. The Daniel problem. Obviously, the Septuagint and Torah updated. The Maccabees were more Hellenistic, accepted Seleucid crown, Jewish identity out of Hellenism. I think there's constant redactions, but I do agree. Yeah, Dr. Romanot popped in the chat and was just making a point that the Hasmonean era may shape editing and canon consciousness, but inventing Deuteronomy wholesale that late is a huge leap.
New shekels super chat.
Yeah.
Pulsy Britta is conflict of a.
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. That was annoying.
You're good. You're good. I agree with what Doc's saying about it, that it's not an either or, and that's what makes it very complicated. People want to go, what day was it written? And it's like, well, it's a rolling tradition of textual material that is like a snowball that picks up stuff over time and changes over time. It's not a fixed concrete thing.
What I'm glad he brought this up, dude, because a lot of people think of the Maccabean period as this time when like the Jews completely like totally rejected the outside world and like went to this whole new thing.
Yeah.
But during this period, right before this, 175 to 171, you had high priests who were literally Hellenizers.
Right.
He's from the Oniad family, the brother to Onias III. You know, the guy, the Messiah who gets cut down in Daniel. This guy. And what does Josephus say? He changed his name from Yeshua to Yason because he wanted to sound more Greek. He wanted to be more Greek-like. And it says right here, where is it?
This happened with Sidon too, didn't it? Ancient Phoenician king on the coast changed his name and his identity and introduced Greek customs.
During his reign, Jason was given permission to start a Greek-style polis gymnasium called Antioch or Antiochia. Residents there would present. So there was a faction of Judeans during this period who were pro-Hellenization. Mm-hmm. And then after he gets taken out of power, the people who take over go to the exact opposite direction. They become anti-Hellenization. But those people didn't just go away, the Hellenizers. there had to have been some sort of dialectic going on. So, good point. The next one was
your super chat. Yeah.
Please say Barita is conflict. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's what's going on in this. So this is what another thing about people who quote the Talmud is they never, ever, ever, ever tell people what they're actually reading. They go and they quote dig and they use it. This is what, sorry, Yaakov, this is exactly what you just did. They go and they quote dig and they find someone who agrees with what they're saying, but they don't. What they're not actually doing is the Bereta is a debate between two people. You know this, Derek, right?
It's not only two people, sometimes many.
I'm saying two different arguments are coming in.
Yeah, it could be even more, but yeah,
maybe 3 or 4. You're right. Good point. Glad you pointed out. And there's someone who will say, "I think this is what's going on. I think you shouldn't steal people." Another person goes, "Dude, it's about property," but they're debating on what does it mean to not steal.
Right.
The point is the text is about stealing. Now that's fine that you found this source and you think it supports your theory. Go ahead, go run.
I don't know what the theory ultimately
I don't know is very strange.
That's what I'm wondering.
What I'm making is you can't go into debates between rabbis, find the one that agrees with you, and then just slap it on to. And this is all a hidden thing. They're just trying to hide the truth. So then why would the rabbi admit this then?
Yeah, like
it's a little silly.
It's falsifying.
You gotta be better at methodology, man. Be better.
Hard to wrap my head around it.
Good point. Next topic. Yeah, I think they're right.
Okay, look, we're getting close. I could smell dinner cooking. So look, there's so much. I mean, I think we really dealt with the very specific thing about we do think there's earlier traditions. We don't pretend to know what they looked like. We don't pretend we're not going to make what we're reading must be exactly what was there in the prophet Ezekiel, Hosea, Josiah, or not Josiah, but Isaiah, Habakkuk, whatever it might be. We're not saying what we're reading is exactly what was earlier, but there does seem to be early traditions that do stem from an earlier period prior to the Dead Sea Scrolls. What they look like, I'm agnostic on exactly what they look like, but there are good cases, and that's why I like listening to Gad Barnea, the very guy who is driving a lot of these later dating for materials. He recently published 8th century BCE material in the Bible, and he said the reason is the way that they use the grammar, they're still containing the earlier forms of the wording, which shows, because you could see examples of it used later, and it means they don't use it the same way. And it has the imperial type of language in it, Assyrian times. We're talking ancient, still within the biblical tradition. So he thinks that some of these traditions are somehow still preserved much later from the same kind of people's ancestors. And of course, it's like rolling material, rolling text. And so what we have, we can't see behind. I hope we find a cache like somewhere in Yehud and they go, "Oh my God, we found Persian material from the Persian period." And sure enough, here's what it says. It'd be cool. I'd love that. Kind of like we found with Balaam, right? Balaam, polytheism all day. Clearly it's a non-Israelite prophet, and it definitely contradicts in many ways, but also has a lot of overlap with the biblical tradition.
Good point. This is a perfect thing to bring up, actually.
Yeah, please.
The Dear Allah inscription, and this is written in some sort of Paleo-Hebrew dialect, very close to Hebrew, very close to biblical Hebrew, but it's older. So we know this is older. This is old. It goes back to 825 BC. That's how old it is. Now, what does it say? It says, "This is the book Balaam, son of Beor, a seer of the gods, to him." To him came, exactly, good point. Plural. Came to the gods at night. I wonder if they have the actual text in Hebrew here so I can look at it real quick. Oh, they don't? That sucks. Because I think it's Elohim. I think the word is Elohim, if not Elim. Elim.
I thought it was El Shaddai.
Oh, no, it's right here. Elohim.
Oh, is it? Okay, wow. Yeah.
Why would El Shaddai be plural for God?
Oh, there it is. Shaddaiim. Look, the Shaddaiim.
No, I'm saying the gods, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking that
we're not there yet. We're not there yet, but that's a good point. So thank you. We got another one, but I'll just keep reading. So then it says the Elohim at night, and they spoke to him according to the God El.
€2 super chat. Do I know of Yama Yami twin myth in Rigveda?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll get to that in a minute. That's a huge one. That's a big fucking topic, by the way. We'll get to that in a second. So back to when I was reading. What does it say? At the accordance of El, the God of the Hebrew Bible, right? And they spoke to Balaam, son of Beor. Now you know who Balaam, son of Beor, is, right? Was it Numbers 14? Is that what it is? What
Let me get the exact.
Yeah, get the exact verse while I keep reading. And Balaam arose in the morning, and he was not able to eat, and he fasted while he was weeping grievously.
Yeah,
and he said,
Numbers 22 through 24.
You want to pull it up while I'm doing this?
Yeah, I can do that.
And they said to Balaam, son of Beor, why do you fast? Why do you weep? He said, sit down. I will show you what the Shaddaiim are saying. Like El Shaddai's people. Now come, see what the Elohim are about to do. I think the only reason why it's Elohim instead of Elohim is the difference of dialect of Hebrew this is. Mm-hmm. So this is literally talking about the Elohim, the same gods you find in the Hebrew Bible. The Elohim gathered while the Shaddaiim met in the assembly and said to Shamash, thou mayest break the bolts of heaven and the clouds there be gloominess. So, and then the point is, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but like what happens is, beholding the expression exercised by Shagar, an Assyrian deity, and Ishtar, the morning star goddess. The leopard, the piglet, and this is all badly ripped up, so we don't know exactly what it says. But he ends up, he's basically a prophet of the gods. So you see here, your quest has become distant. How to know to deliver an oracle to his people. He's a prophet. He's delivering oracles to the people. And who are the gods that he even mentions Sheol. He approaches Sheol, the underworld. So why did me and Derek bring this up in this context? Because let's go to your passage now.
Yeah. Numbers 22 at crossbible.com. Numbers 22, the Israelites set out and camped in the plains of Moab across the Jordan and Jericho. Now Balak, son of Zippor, saw Israel had done all to the Amorites. Now let's find Balaam. Here we go. He sent messengers to Balaam, son of Beor. Again, the same Balaam,
character.
Same guy. The problem is in this story, and should we read this whole thing? I mean, is that it's one God. It's not the gods, plural. And it's not polytheism in the same, it's not dealing with this multiplicity of deities. Also, he's obviously a prophet. He's a seer.
Yeah.
And he has these messages and stuff.
Does he fast? I don't remember if he fasts or not.
I don't think he does.
No, maybe not.
I don't think he fasts.
Can you do a word search for fast?
Yeah. No, it doesn't say that.
So I just want to see if there's any parallels at all.
Now, let me go to the next chapter and see, because it's 2 chapters.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Nothing on that one, and then one more.
But what does Balaam do? He builds an altar to 7. He builds 7 altars. The Spirit of God comes upon him. He's a prophet.
Yeah.
Look, and he uttered the oracle. Go down. Look, he uttered his oracle. The one who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of Almighty Shaddai. Here, I got to look at the Hebrew. Which was that? Numbers 24?
Numbers 24. Yeah.
Okay.
Verse 4.
Let's look at this. Numbers. Boom, boom, boom. Where is it? Numbers 24.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
You're good. This is I'm glad you brought this up because I almost forgot about this. This is actually a really strong point. What verse was it again?
24, verse 4.
Shaddai, yeah. Right here. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally using language. It's even using language about El Shaddai. But here's another weird thing. I think it brings up Yahweh involved, or is it El? Here's Elohim. Here's your Elohim right here. No, it doesn't use Yahweh. Whoa. Derek, I didn't even notice this. It's calling the Spirit of God. It's using the plural Elohim right here.
Right.
That's fucking crazy. And then look at Shaddai shows up right here. Mm-hmm. El Shaddai. So whoever wrote Numbers had access to sources that go back to this source.
Yeah. How old does it say I think it's like 8th century.
825 BCE.
9th century.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
So we even, not only is there a character, literally word for word, Balaam, son of Beor, who utters the oracle of the god El, the Elohim in particular, and it also uses the word Shaddai. Now, let me do my Beretta now. Let me throw in the next guy. Wait a minute, Neal. This isn't the same text at all, because this text has all these different gods, Shamash, it's got Shagar, it's got Ishtar. It's totally polytheistic. The dialect is different. It's not Elohim, it's Elohim.
Euro super chat. Working on big monograph. Can we exchange emails?
Yeah, my email's in my description. Or on my channel. So thank you for that super chat. Appreciate that. Balaam, son of Beor, same character, worships the same Elohim, even though it's spelled differently in this text.
Mm-hmm.
And there's multiple gods. It's polytheistic. So it's it's definitely an older rendition of the monotheistic, reformed, maybe even Platonic version, Platonized version, where there's only one God now. The point is, whoever wrote Numbers had access to sources that probably, this might be like either indirectly related to this or maybe directly. I don't know. The point is, there's so much that lines up here. The takeaway here is this. It doesn't mean that the Numbers is 9th century BC.
Right.
But it means that the material in Numbers has traditions that go back to the 9th century BCE. That means that someone sitting in Greece, someone sitting in Alexandria in the 3rd century BCE did not make this up.
No. But even then, I want to just be fair, and I want to be a little more flexible and say that would be the earliest you could potentially date Numbers would be 9th century or later. You can't go earlier than that. This tradition seems to have been far older. It's got way archaic of a rendition with polytheism and such. What's going on in the Bible is after that. So anytime between the Hellenistic period when this literature is composed that we have actual evidence of, and the evidence we have from the archaeological data that you just got from this particular location, it's somewhere in that range. And scholars would look at that and go, all right, I would date it here. Post-exilic, potentially. Here's why. Maybe there's other evidence in the two. If there's 2 whole chapters in Numbers, I guarantee you there's clues in there that help scholars find evidences that make it sound to them like it might have a exilic, post-exilic idea in it. You still have to be cautious, because once you write something that's anachronistic into a narrative, let's say a later scribe, pretend with me, Neal, that there was a 6th century Balaam story. 6th century. Mm-hmm. Let's say there was an author who wrote it.
500s BC.
500s BC. But then someone in the 400s BCE writes something, and they add a clue in there that sounds like it's from the 4th or 5th century, right? 400s. Okay.
Yes.
Guess what? We're going to think, because we don't have physical evidence any earlier, we're going to think, oh, maybe they composed it first time ever at this time, because we have evidence that seems to see the handwriting of someone in the 400s. But the tradition likely extended earlier. We can't prove that it did. We can't prove that it didn't unless we find external evidence to support the case. And that's the big conundrum that I feel like we're in a lot of places. Is like the oldest data we have is 3rd century.
I couldn't agree more.
It's a
arm
wrestle.
What it does is we objectively know that these are traditions, that are ancient Israelite traditions that go back as far as the 9th century BC in this case.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to be real about what is the form that we have it in. Is it still polytheistic? Is the spelling the same? Is the dialect of Hebrew the same? Because you don't copy a text and then it's more of a translation at that point.
Right.
If you take, it would be like me rewriting Shakespeare for a modern audience, and I take away all the breaketh and some. He says thou, and I just said he said to thee. He said to me.
Right.
That's the word. So we're comparing linguistics now. We're comparing what's in the text. It's not polytheistic. It's monotheistic. But the same character who worships the same Elohim, spelled differently, who he literally calls Almighty Shaddai.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're dealing with is we're dealing with a tradition that gets passed down and reformed and updated. And as it's being reformed and updated, it takes on different inspirations of the time periods.
Exactly.
For example, in the Hellenistic period, Platonism is all the rage.
Yeah.
So,
and there might be other clues that show it's later. Later authors already dabbled with it, which makes it very difficult for scholars to try and, if you can't find external sources for it earlier, which is why we're like, why isn't this here in Elephantine or Yehud in the Persian period? How come we don't find those stories there? And that is a serious question that we still have, that we go, damn, were they just, a few scribes had this and it wasn't really well known in this region? Did we not have good preservation in Persia? But Egypt preserves pretty well. So why is it not preserved? Well, these are questions that we have. And even people like Jonathan Adler, which we love to quote for archaeology, I've talked to him about this and he goes, dude, there were scribes who did carry traditions and continue traditions all the time. And he said, it wouldn't be ridiculous to imagine there was a tradition that was preserved of some form. And later the scribes obviously include it into their tradition about the Bible when they actually go to put the stuff together in the Hellenistic period, meaning there is existing older traditions that they're compiling together later. We're not saying someone sat down from scratch and said, all right, Bob, let's write down something, make it all up from scratch. No, they're working off of prior stuff. So I wish we could find some of that prior stuff in the ground. A random papyri right now, that'd be like, oh shit, look, there's a story of Jacob that's in the Persian period. It wouldn't shock me if some of these stories would have gone back, but we have other issues. Someone brought up earlier about the names, which Gad Barnea points out, is like they're naming people after Persian heroic stories in Jewish communities, but nobody's being named Jacob. Nobody's being named, all these various names that we find stories throughout the Pentateuch. Nobody's being named Moses. Nobody's doing this. What's going on? It's a problem. It's a problem. Anyway, you got a super chat or two, and then I got to get off here and go eat.
Yeah. The one that just came up is this one.
At KK,
you got multiple, though.
A super chat. Beta Alpha Sigma Iota Lambda Epsilon Sigma Taxman, greater than King. Baal greater than Temple Taxman. Smile.
Basileus, which means king, taxman, King Baal, Temple Taxman. Maybe. I mean, I guess there might be a link there. Thank you for that super chat. Appreciate that. So someone asked me this: do you know about Yama and Yami and twins in the Rig Veda? Mm-hmm. And I love this topic, and I'll say this about this. If you actually look at the Rig Veda, there's a lot more of it's in the Mahabharata, actually, when they talk about them, but they are mentioned in the Rig Veda as well. Now, when you go to Yama, he's the god of death and justice, the underworld god. And his brother is Manu, or Yamuna in different versions, the first man, the progenitor of the human race. You can see, the progenitor of the human race. So you have these twins who are the progenitor of the human race, right? Now it's interesting because in the Zendavesta, the Zoroastrian Zendavesta, what is this? This is a very closely related language to Sanskrit. This is Avestan. This is the before Persian. And it says, Zarathustra asked Ahura Mazda, maker of the material world, who was the first mortal before myself, Zarathustra, with whom Ahura Mazda conversed? The fair Yima, the great shepherd, the holy Zarathustra, he was the first mortal before you, with whom I, Ahura Mazda, did converse. I taught the law of Ahura, the law of Zarathustra. Well, fair Yima, son of Vivagnat, be thou the preacher and bearer of the law. And the fair Yima, O Zarathustra, replied to me, saying, I was not born. I was taught to be the preacher and the bearer of the law. And then it says, since thou wantest not to be the preacher and the bearer of my law, then make thou my worlds thrive, make my worlds increase. Undertake thou to nourish, to rule, and to watch over my world. And the fair Yima replied, O Zarathustra, I will make the worlds thrive. I will make the worlds increase. I will nourish, I will rule and watch over the world. So he becomes the underworld chthonic god who is responsible for the crops growing. The first man of the human race, Yima, becomes deified. He becomes like this shepherd, chthonic god of the flocks, of the herds, and he is the one who brings forth increasing, nourishing crops. So he is literally this character. This character right here, Yama, and you can see the linguistic connection too. Mm-hmm. God of death and justice. He's equated with Pluto, Hades, also Ymir. Norse mythology, Ymir. So this is some deep level Indo-European religion that goes back very, very far. We're talking Bronze Age at least.
Yeah, there's some ancient. Go watch my video I did today. Neal hasn't watched it yet. It was two Polish scholars who highlight how Genesis is, specifically the Eden myth, is borrowing from Ogygia, the Homeric book 5 in Homer. And there's a lot there. When you see the parallels, you'll be blown away. It's pretty shocking. I don't want to give anything away, but you really should go watch it. It tells you that the Genesis Eden story as we have it is primarily taking inspiration from the Greeks and secondarily from the ancient Mesopotamian world. Anyway, yeah.
Doc Paroma Nas. I always noticed the tabernacles as it reads more like a later priestly imagination projected backwards. One more.
Oh, you got more than that, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you already covered. Let's go back here. So
you already read that one. Yeah.
Okay. Did you cover this one?
Oh,
yes.
Check
okay.
I said my email's on my channel.
10.10.
Did you cover this one?
This is the code. 17 plus
17 plus 17 plus 68. I mean, it sounds like gematria, of course, which is what it seems to be doing, but I don't understand what it's.
I don't know what you mean.
What is?
I think Jakob is trolling us.
Got to be playing games. I mean, 17. If you want something out of me, I'll give you something. 17 is a very interesting triangular number, a geometric number. One interesting thing I'll give you is let me share my screen. Actually, hold on. Let me pull up. I got a new computer, so I could probably do this. Bear with me, Neal.
I'll read this one real quick.
Go ahead.
Check Yama twin myth, Rig Veda 1010.
So I was share that. Hold on. While you do that, I'm going to pull this up real quick here. So I've got the calculator pulled up, right? But here's the thing about 17, and I don't know what you're getting at, but I'm just going to tell you something cool I learned over the years. Let me do this. Delete. Is it completely delete? Yeah, here we go. 1 plus 2 plus, oh, it's not. 1? What the hell?
Gotta clear it.
1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Anyway, and you go up to 17 with this. It's 144, I believe, which is the 144,000. You see, I believe it's 144. It's a triangular number though. So if you add it 1 all the way up to 17, this is a well-known geometric number. And so I don't know what your point is about the 17, but if you go all the way up to 17, I'm not going to sit here and click on my mouse the whole time. It's an interesting observation numerically. But did the ancients see that? And what's your point? I don't get it.
No, I think they did actually. I think there's a lot of Pythagorean sources that have knowledge of these. Like 1 plus another one is 1.
72. Someone corrected it.
Yeah, 0. Another one is 0 plus 1.
Oh,
plus 1, which is 2 now. Plus 2, and then it says plus 3, and then it goes into plus 5. Now, why did I skip 4? Because you're always adding the 1 before that. So 0, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Plus 2 equals 3, and then 3 plus 2 equals 5, and then 5 plus 3 equals 8, and then 8 plus 5 equals 13, and then so forth. And what it does, if you graph it onto a graph, it shows up as a beautiful spiral that you find throughout nature. It's called the golden ratio.
I had to show this just because it makes me laugh.
Invented Judaism.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
What's okay? This
No,
one.
I know what he means, though. He's saying the Pythagorean tradition is so influential. Judaism somewhat comes out of it's, that type of thing.
Yeah.
By the way, Rig Veda 10:10. Let's pull it up. I don't know why he's saying no. I don't know what the no is for.
Meaning you were covering the origin myth of that tradition, but I think they're just like, no.
The subsequent ages will come when sisters will choose who is not a brother, therefore auspicious one. Choose another husband than me, and make your arm a pillow for your mate. What do you mean? I don't know what they mean.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, they're talking about the whole passage 10:10. Yami speaks to him, Yam. Let every worshiper sacrifice both day and night. Let the sun repeatedly raise for him the kindred pair, day and night unite with heaven and earth. Yeah. This is what I mean. This is the one of them becomes the underworld, the other one becomes the heavenly. They become like the twins. The Dioscuri, the twins. There's like a lot overlap here. Dioscuri. Watch this. These two twins. Now these aren't the progenitor of the human race, but in the Samothracian mysteries, they're right behind Adamus, so they are connected to the progenitors of the human race in a way. It's weird. So you can see people understood these people, these two, very similar to they see the twins, the ancient twins. So what the Zoroastrian does though is they take this character and put him into one character. He just becomes Yima, fair Yima, and he basically is both. He's the progenitor of the human race and the underworld son.
Interesting.
So
thank you. Yeah, thanks for all the super dupers, and I'm gonna wrap things up, dude.
Yeah, man.
Clearly, we know that the Bible ex nihilo was created in the Greek period, and make sure you tell all your friends and make sure you name drop us and tell them that we said everything ex nihilo was invented in the 3rd century BCE. And yeah, let's start a cult.
Yeah.
You're not even paying attention.
Yeah, let's start a cult. I said,
you don't even give a shit. You're like, oh, yeah.
I said, yeah.
I'm playing. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna go eat some dinner though.
Me too. I'm actually really hungry.
Yeah. Look, is there anything else we need to say? Oh, we got one more.
Oh God, Jacob again. Jacobos. 17 letters.
17 letters.
Why don't you say? If you're gonna drop $2, why just troll us?
Yeah.
Why not just be like, here's what I think? I don't know. I'm just kidding. Nah, Jacobos, you've been dropping money on us. I respect you. Thank you.
It's been fun. It's been
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think I know what they mean by this. They're talking about the sister of Yama, or Yima, which is Yamuna, who becomes his wife as well. Which is a little weird, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the ancient world, that's a pretty common trope.
She is unable to bear a husband. The sun's heat and its light enclosed her presence. Surya felt insulted, and the sun will be known as Yama. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Is she? Wait, I thought she was the sister of Yama. Maybe not. I don't know. I have to dig into these stuff again. It's been a while since I read this stuff. So, anyways, okay, I get what you're saying. You're pointing out these two. Oh, maybe they're trying to connect it to Yam. I don't know though. Different language system, different linguistic root. Yam is not Indo-European. Yam is Semitic. Also, Yam is a sea god. I don't know. Is Yamuna even a sea god at all? I don't think so. Oh, the river is also worshipped as a Hindu goddess Yamuna. Maybe. There you go. I can't. All right. You got something there.
Yamuna. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know the language, so I can't say.
They could have got some ideas from Babylonians or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. but yam means sea, so that'd be kind of hard. The word literally means sea in Ugaritic sources. We're talking Bronze Age too. So check chat, Neal. I am checking chat. Why? What happened now? Who's
KKS 4 who dropped €2 super chat.
Yamuna is a river. They just that's
Oh, I already noticed that.
no what I don't see what this
Pranayama. Yamuna is a river. It runs into Duna. Yeah, I just saw that. But the point is, yam literally means sea in Ugaritic. So did they get the idea from the East and they adopted it? Because then it's like at that same time you already have Ymir and you already have Fair Yima. So but this is the possibility would be they adopt yam from the West, from the Semitic Babylonians, and then they incorporate it and make it the twin sister of Yima. I don't know. Possible. I think it's possible.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
It's been a while. I got to look more into Hinduism. That's what I got to do.
There's a lot to learn in that area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah, bro. Well, appreciate doing the live, man. I'm going to go get some dinner and we'll have to do this again. I didn't expect this, topic and last
we went
minute.
all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I wanted to clarify for people who they watch me and they hear me and I'm saying the Hebrew Bible, there's no evidence of it before the 3rd century BCE. Mm-hmm. Yes, I stand by that statement. But when I say the Hebrew Bible, I'm talking about the Hebrew Bible that we know.
Right.
Minus the slight variations between the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Leningrad Codex. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about the chunk of text that we have today is a revised text that is officiated sometime in the 3rd century BCE, using older traditions and older sources that go back very, very far.
Yeah.
It is still Judean culture. It's not Greek. This isn't Greek culture. This is Greek influence, and heavily Greek influence. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say all of it is Greek influenced.
Yeah, Zoroastrian influence.
I think there's different. Yeah,
Babylonian influence, Assyrian influence, Ugaritic influence.
Yep. Go watch the video I dropped today if you're bored after this and you want to see real scholars arguing that there are two different Edens in the Bible. One is in the prophets, and it's an older form of the story of Eden that contradicts the Garden of Eden in Genesis, and it shows more ancient Mesopotamian trope, no Greek influence on it. But in the Genesis account, Greek influence, and you're going to see why, but you got to go watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Cool. Well, I think
you got this one, right? Yeah. Thank you, Back and Pan. Appreciate you, man. Good seeing you.
I think you have just attained
true
gnosis. And we are MythVision.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.